Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful astrology soulmates, and welcome to your January 2026 astrology horoscope. Where, wow, first of all, happy 2026. Let's just keep saying that out loud. We will for about a year. But January, I feel like, is this long inhale that we're taking. We've had some months through 2025. We'll certainly have some others through 2026 that are about the exhale. But January to me feels more like this inhale, the one you take when you're like, now a version of me might have had a different response to this situation. I might have cussed you out. I might have had an attitude about something, but I'm having an inhale. And I'm pausing because I'm aligning with my higher self and what's the truth of this situation, my response versus my reaction. It's that kind of inhale that I think that we are starting the year with, because the year is really not coming in energetically with this like kick in the front door, new year, new me kind of energy. It's like gliding across and giving you a chance to take a look at it, and instead it's kind of coming in going, okay, friend, so are we doing this for real or what? That's more of the energy. Now, the Capricorn season leads the way, and we come under this energy every year as we're coming across this calendar change of the new year, right? And so, as Capricorn's leading the way in here, Capricorn is not your hype man. Capricorn is not hype man kind of energy. Capricorn is a starting energy, right? It's a cardinal energy. We're going to get something going, but it is that friend and that guide that says, listen, you are brilliant, but we also need a plan. We need a strategy for that. What are we really doing with this? It's that I like to embody it. I talk a lot on this channel about Moana and how the grandmother in Moana, to me, is the most brilliant representation of Capricorn energy, because Capricorn is actually a feminine sign. So it's this wise, mature, structured feminine that's not hard necessarily. It is I hear what you're saying. Also, what's the plan? What are you going to do with that? So it's that kind of energy as we are coming in. So as the month comes in, it's pulling us more inward before it gives us that push forward, as the inhale before we're going to have that exhale. All right, let's just take a minute. If we've never met before, I'm practicing professional astrologer Stormie Grace, and welcome to the channel. We talk all about astrology over here. And if you are a part of the Soulmate Family Tribe already and you are coming back, thanks for still being here. We're still on this road together. What an amazing experience to be having. Now, the timestamps for every video are always going to be in the description box down below. So you can go down there, go to your sign, and see how this is actually unfolding for you for the month. But I highly recommend that you grab your own natal chart and look at where these transits are happening in your particular chart. That is the best way to find out what's going on. And I want you to have the best astrology, and the best astrology is your astrology. So grab your chart. I've got a video at the end of this video to show you how to find the transit in your particular chart if you're not familiar with how to do that just yet. But click in that description box down below, get your own natal chart. As well, grab the digital transit calendar for 2026. That's what we use to track the sky around here, particularly if you're not familiar with how to use the ephemeris yet. Use my code Stormie2026 and you get a little bit of a discount. And friends, listen, at the end of this month on the 31st, I'll be jumping over to Nightlight Astrology with our friend Adam over there, and I'll be doing a beautiful speaking series. I think we're going for about 2 hours. I'm going to talk all about how you can use astrology and the moon in your business. So come on over, join us. Lots of good things, but everything's really in the description box down below, okay? All right. Now, as we're coming into the month and we have this Capricorn season and this Capricorn energy, which is taking a bit of the fluff out of things, right? It's trimming the fat. It's trimming the fluff off of what we're doing. It's about getting clear about what we really want. And the Capricorn energy is, you made the vision board, or you're holding a vision in your mind of what you want and what you want it to be. Capricorn is like, no, now we're going to commit to the action, because I can commit to these actions. I can commit to this plan or this path. It's that. It moves it from the fantasy and the creation into a reality of action. Like Capricorn season is grown folks astrology. So if that's what you're ready for, or you're ready to step into that where you're maturing, this is a wonderful energy. And on the back of this level of maturity that Capricorn season brings in, we're going to have the Cancer full moon. So some of us may experience this energy where it's like, yeah, that plan for your life, where we're going to make those commitments, that's cute. Also, you maybe need to cry about that, right? Like that is intense. That is another level of so much enoughness and release and surrender and acceptance of your power that under this particular Cancer full moon, many of us may find the tears that we've been needing that are actually just liquid prayers and liquid conversation that we're experiencing with the universe at a deep emotional feeling level. You know, some of it may be hit with nostalgia and memories that are coming up and coming through you at this time. You know, they wave in the back like, hey girl, did you miss me? You know, it's bringing something to the surface. So I invite you, as we're experiencing this Cancer full moon, wherever it's happening in your chart, to experience it as the soft cleansing and the reminder that emotional intelligence isn't a bonus. It's not just a knowing. It's not just the intellectual intelligence. It is an honoring of the emotional body, but you have to feel to heal. And that doesn't have to be scary. It's just an invitation to be done. Now, if you are struggling with some of this softening and getting to that emotional body and the receiving body, jump into the Venus Reset program. We're over 200 strong in that program right now. So I would love to have you come in, also in the description box down below. Now, we are also going to see in January that Mars comes back in bounds. If you remember, Mars went out of bounds actually in November of 2025. So out of the jurisdiction of the sun, Mars gets to kind of do and act as it wants to. So it's like Mars on an espresso is what Mars out of bounds is like. You know, suddenly you have the courage to become something you never were going to be before. You have the courage to stand up for a belief. You have the courage to create something. The frustration, though, of what that creation can bring into your life because Mars is acting in an energy that you're not used to embodying, right? So the impulses and the movement that have come with that. Now, as Mars comes back inbounds on the 6th, you can temper it. You can go, okay, now here's what I'm going to actually do. Here's what I actually desire to do with what I brought into my life. Mid-month, we're going to shift out of this Capricorn energy and bring in the vibration of Aquarius season. And Aquarius season starts flowing with Venus, the Sun, Mercury, Mars, all coming into this space. So it's like a little cosmic dinner party that we get invited to, where the Aquarian season arising, the vibe at the table is talking about our future selves, right? It's whispering in your ear that friendship and community and how to be in community, the things happening with technology and how to be online, they're back. This is your individual assignment to be taking on and seeing how these fit and you participate in them. You know, expect epiphanies during Aquarius season. It's ruled by Uranus, where our brilliance, our genius suddenly flashes before our eyes or in our minds. Expect rebellion. Where are you rebelling against an old story of not enoughness about yourself or about life or what could be or what was available or community and what does that mean? And now you're challenging it, right? The rebellion doesn't have to be in some massive external way, but also expect, I think, a renewed tolerance of people that are like a little weird, right? Like they're weird to you. They're not necessarily weird. They're weird to you. They're different from you. They're a place you never thought you would go, but you find out that your heart actually belongs there. Now, one of the biggest energetic shifts that we are going to experience this month, and we'll be talking about it in the weeklies as well, is that Saturn and Uranus are going to come into a sextile with each other on the 20th. And this is big energy, because Saturn is the structure, right? And Uranus is the disruption to that structure. But as they come together in a sextile, this is a cooperative energy. So on the 20th, be paying attention, make a little note of what's coming up for you here, because it's almost like as these two come together in a cooperation, they're like, you know, there's an easier way to do that, right? So where is that coming to your attention as you're traveling through January? Or maybe it's Is there an easier way to do this? The energy here, this sextile supports real change, and it's not dramatic. It's a sustainable, thinking about it, doing it different kind of shift of energy. So you get to take a really honest step towards whatever your growth is, particularly your spiritual belief, because at this time, Saturn is back in Pisces, right? Where the universe, the universal truth of your abundance, of your spiritual gifts, your spiritual fitness are all called to the table, but then they're put together with small, impactful steps that help you mature into whatever this vision and reality is. As we're going to close and get to the end of the month on January 26th, we see Neptune now move back forward into the vibration of Aries. And listen, this is a spiritual plot twist, but we did have some experience with it in 2025 already. So you already have a little nugget of taste because Neptune is going to come here in Aries and dissolve this illusion. It's going to dissolve this illusion. Aries starts revolutions. So together, as they're coming together, it's this sentiment of it's time for a new era of becoming. And no, you cannot drag that old ass identity with you. No, we have got to get busy with the shedding. But let me be clear, it's tender. This is a tender energy. It's an inspired energy. It's a confused energy. It's a cracked open energy. It's a wildly brave energy. You may find yourself questioning who you are, who you've been trying to be, and remembering at the same time who you are. And if you listen to me talk about how the outer planet shifting into masculine energies in 2025 started us on the conversation of understanding and returning back to what is the feminine energy in our being, who the F you really are, and that you have to soften to get there. This will, I think, start to make a lot more sense, right? But Neptune in Aries is spiritual courage. It's softness with this gorgeous backbone where you point your hips at what you want and you tell it to come to me. It's that kind of energy, right? Reclaiming your desire, reclaiming your direction, reclaiming your fire, but doing it with compassion for yourselves and others. Think warrior, monk, alchemist kind of vibration, okay? So I want to be clear that I don't think that January is asking for any kind of perfection, right? But it does demand a different relationship and conversation with honesty. This calling back to check in with your body. Do I still want this? Feeling it through. Does this still fit? And for some of us, that's going to be very practical. Does that dress still fit? Does it fit? If it doesn't fit, I'm going to let it go, right? Am I acting from desire or from habit? It's going to ask you to let go. But there's a gentle letting go about this, and then to let something new arrive, and then to receive it. First of all, to receive it, and then to receive it without the pressure of having to figure out exactly what it's going to do and how it's going to move, right? It reminds you that I think love with a little bit of Aries sass mixed in here will go a long, long, long way. All right, my beautiful friends, before you move on to your sign by sign forecast, which again, you can find the timestamps in the description box down below. Again, I offer you the Venus Reset program. It is open. It is my 22-day feminine healing journey. January's mix of Capricorn energy plus Aquarian honesty plus Neptune's new era back into Aries is really made a beautiful, perfect time to shift into repairing your relationship with Venus, with worthiness, with receptivity, reclaiming the version of you that is so dang empowered. And if you are over 35 years old and on this heroine's journey, you might know exactly what I am talking about. All right, beautiful friends, I love you. Have a gorgeous January, and let me know how it's going in the description box down below. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Aries friends, and welcome to your January 2026 horoscope, where Aries January is your cosmic level up without the drama, though. I think it's like let's go to the next level, but without the drama. It's more grounded, there's more of an awakening, and I think for you it feels like the personal redefining that's already been on the agenda, but now you're able to step into it this month a little bit easier because every transit this month touches some portion of your identity, your ambition, your healing journey, but it is in a way, as we're starting off with Capricorn, that builds momentum. So this is a start. And Aries, this month also gives you permission to do, want, feel more than maybe you've been allowing yourself to do, be, have, more, feel, right? It's a softer, wiser fire that I think we experience this month. So let's jump in here. On the first, we see Mercury moving into the vibration of Capricorn, and this lights up your 10th house space. So this transit brings a sharp and honest spotlight to what you are doing in your career path, your reputation, your goals, what we see you and what we call you in public, your public identity. So instead of having the energy sit kind of stagnant in a Capricorn vibration, it's like, what am I actually going to do with the power and with the influence that I have? And I want you to think a bit more broadly about this than just the career clarity, right? Because also, if you take on being a wife, a mother, a volunteer, a CEO, a tour guide leader, whatever it is that we call you in public, this is where you're saying, what am I going to actually do with my influence in this space? So if you've been kind of vague, Aries, about a direction you wanted to go with your life, Mercury in Capricorn is really helpful to trim the fat and cut through the fog, right? Your thinking can become more strategic, more structured, more long range under this particular transit. So it's perfect for setting up your 2026 with a lot more clarity, a really guided and grounded kind of plan that can move you from the space of manifesting and just putting it on paper and that kind of chaos that can come with it to something that's actually structured. Now, there's a second layer that comes with this that I want to talk about as well. And that is that this transit does step you into accountability. Mercury in the 10th is going to push you to speak and to act in a way that does match your long-term vision. And if anything needs to be cleaned up in order for you to get there, this will absolutely be something that you'll be taking on. If you've been underplaying a situation, underpaying in those taxes, hiding your talents, hiding behind your brilliance, like maybe later, or maybe I'll sneak it up later. This transit is actually asking for a lot of accountability. And it's not necessarily the most gentle nudge to do it, but it is more of a profound leadership role, leadership nudge, I think, to get you going there. Having those conversations with the bosses, the authorities, the clients, the mentors, so that they can help you move in the trajectory of where you want to go in a much more empowering way. Now, as we get to the third, we're going to have a full moon happening in Cancer at 13 degrees. So you want to check this against your own particular chart, but in the general, this is lighting up your fourth house space, home, family, real estate, property. And this full moon, like all full moons, is going to ask us, Aries, to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. But a full moon, typically with all of the light in the sky, is cracking us open, but it's the deep layers of your emotional body, right? The fourth house being in so much of our family history and the things that root us down, particularly in beliefs that we've had, in ways we have learned to self-soothe ourselves, something like this. You can expect something kind of tender to be rising to the surface, a memory, a craving, an experience that you're like, wow, I learned that in childhood and it's not going to serve me on this trajectory anymore. Maybe even a desire to create a space in your own life today that feels like home, feels nurturing, feels like family, feels like safety. Cancer moons tend to pull us inward. So there can be a bit more of a softening that comes with this particular lunation. And so it's something you can think about in terms of softening even your defenses. But it's with the acknowledgement that you can soften it because you're safe and you've outgrown those things. You don't need them. But the deepest medicine that this particular lunation has to offer you this month, Aries, is emotional honesty. Something in your past, something about a living situation has reached a moment of critical clarity, and the truth you can't avoid anymore is here to actually set you free. And the softness and vulnerability that comes from that is just that. It's soft power, but it's not a weakness. When we get to the 6th, your ruling planet Mars is actually coming back in bounds, which is amazing. It's not that it was bad when it was out of bounds, but it's really nice that it's coming back in bounds because you can work with it a little bit differently. Now, it's been out of bounds, acting like it's been on an espresso binge a little bit. Mars is like, just right? So it's been a fair bit of that. And while it's been really motivational, and hopefully you used it really well and you got some things done, and that anger moved from anger to clarity, and instead you were able to produce something with it, the things you needed to feel in your actions and go, I really want to achieve this. I'm hoping you got to use the energy to create something beautiful with that. But now all of those things that you did, or the desires that you have, the motivation around them settles a little bit. So don't be afraid of that. But also that motivation becomes stable now. It becomes stable. You can use it. You can work with that particular energy. This transit, I think, as it comes back inbounds, is literally whispering to you, you are bigger than that old life. You're bigger than that old belief. You're more than enough. If you felt stuck in any kind of way, Mars coming back inbounds is going to be really helpful to you. On the 17th, we've got Venus moving into the vibration of Aquarius, lighting up your 11th house. Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is an attracting planet. We call in, and then we receive, but we have to be able to receive to enjoy the container. And we have to be clear on the value of what we want to receive in the container. So Aries, the question for you is around your 11th house spaces, and in Aquarius, there's a lightness, there's a brightness, there's a social magnetism that also comes with this, but your friendships, your social circles, your relationship with technology, your relationship with astrology, right? Allowing this space to feel richer, call in the connections you want, calling in sparks with people who may even be your forever friends, calling that in this month. It feels a lot more energized with Venus being in this space. So you may find yourself really being drawn into spaces or with people, particularly in groupings and settings that feel a little bit different than what you're normally used to getting into. You might feel yourself living more authentically and like you're really on the road of your future direction. So be clear with what you value so that you can call it in. In terms of love and romance and pleasure and play take on a much more spacious kind of energy here instead of this heated, let's all be close together kind of energy, right? It's less cling and a little bit more clarity. Nothing wrong with the cling, but this time you want a little bit more freedom. You want to go out. You want to see who's in the world. You want to see, can I take this vibration of abundance really on the road with me? And there's such a difference in the identity that you're taking out there that I'm curious to see who you call into your life. Your romantic possibilities, if this is something that you are looking for, increase exponentially through social circles or through social spaces, particularly if you're clear on the value of who you want to call in, what you want to call in. When we get to the 18th, now we've got a new moon happening in the vibration of Capricorn, and it's going to be at 28 degrees. This again is going to light up your 10th house space. So we're back in the space of this career, this public reputation and identity. The new moon is the place where the sky is dark, but the luminaries are together, so absolutely anything is possible. And we're planting our seeds of intention to begin something new. Now, this is not that new year, new me kind of energy. If you've been here with me for any kind of 5 minutes, I don't do new year, new me, okay? But it's new year, real me. I think that is very much so available at this new moon, because at 28 degrees, this lunation is not playing small. It's very much so in its mastery. This is master builder energy. So it is understanding the cost and the value of commitment. and the value of discipline and consistency towards what you're building here. This lunation, I think for you, Aries, marks the beginning of some kind of long-term professional shift, long-term shift in that professional or that public identity, excuse me, but it's really deeply aligned and it is so steeped in your mastery. Something you have worked towards, maybe something you have been avoiding comes up, but this doorway is for you to walk through. And for some of you, it may actually be that the door was absolutely closed before, no cracks, no light, and it opens again. A dream you had, you postponed it, it's back online. Let me know what this looks like in the comment section down below for you as you're experiencing this January energy. Now, on the 19th, the sun shifts out of that Capricorn vibration and into Aquarius. And now we're back lighting up and bringing light, heat, life, and vitality to that 11th house space where Venus is already occupying. Pluto is over in Aquarius. This is a lot going on in the friendship space. But as the sun comes here now, your focus is going to expand from such personal ambitions to a more collective future, right? To a more collective being. And in a way where you're like seeing where you want to help and where your talents can actually add benefit into this space. You're thinking more about your place in the world, your community, your collaborations, your friendships, your contributions. It's a lovely energy to experience. But I think it's also going to be a place where you look at, do your friendships feel like a source of energy and inspiration? Do your social spaces feel like a source of energy and inspiration, or is it based in distraction? On the 20th, Saturn and Uranus come into this sextile. Saturn's still in Pisces, Uranus still retrograde in the vibration of Taurus. So this creates this 12th house, second house sextile in the general. So this is where I would love for you to experience this as kind of a vibration of like a quiet miracle. I actually talk about this particular arrangement in my book that's coming out in May, but it's like a quiet miracle. Think about it as Saturn is in its mastery energy as well, right? It's in your 12th house of boundaries around your energy, your spiritual fitness and wellness, habits and beliefs that can be your undoing, things you're creating behind the scenes, empathy, your inner world, right? And Uranus is in your second house of finances, your value systems, your sense of worth, how you create pathways for abundance to flow towards you. Now, they are both in a position of mastery. You've seen both of these placements already. So as they form a collaborative sextile with each other, Aries, you have an opportunity to receive kind of a rare healing that comes with this. It's the kind where these small internal shifts are producing external ripples that are going to become visible pretty quickly. Well into February, we're going to start to see that. And so what am I talking about? I don't want to be vague posting you here. What this can start to look like so you can start to identify it is you're releasing some subconscious fears that you've had about money. Maybe something's come into your life and it's put you in a different position around money, wealth, abundance, these kinds of concepts, very Taurian concepts, resources, and you're looking at it really differently. There's a wound that was not enough. The not enough wounds feels like it's been filled in. It's healing. It's not just scabbing over and creepy looking, but it's an actual healing, right? You have a change in your understanding of abundance. You're recognizing your worth without needing to give a justification for it. So look for these subtle but really powerful shifts in your energy. On the 20th, we're going to see also that Mercury slides into the vibration of Aquarius. So it is an energy-filled day, but this again is adding to that 11th house energy. Now, Mercury is joining the Sun, joining Venus, joining Pluto. It's all lighting up this 11th house space. So your ideas and your conversations become social, and it's about the friendships and the social connections now. Like my girls, I've young adult children, and they talk about people being in each other's DMs, the direct messages, okay? But it's like There's something about maybe you're being contacted even on social media in some way, or someone sending you a message or an email, and it is arriving at the exact right moment. An invitation to something more social or something you've been praying about, thinking about, pops in, pops up. Aquarius brings the insight of genius and flip moments, like it happens, it turns on, it's right here. Now, because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. When it comes, you want to take advantage of it and realize it may not last forever, but it may be that flip, that little lightning bolt that gets you unexpectedly into a moment that will absolutely change your life. And you'll know because it's flowing kind of effortlessly. At a deeper layer, where I think this becomes really important at the beginning of the year with this packed house of 11th house packed energy for you, is realizing and remembering how much you need community, how much you need to be in community. People change because of people. So if what you're looking for is some kind of change, some kind of support, some kind of longing from your heart, Mercury in Aquarius is going to encourage collaboration, brainstorming, honest dialogue, being in community, or learning to be in community if you are craving it, but you don't actually know how to be in it. On the 23rd, Mars now enters into Aquarius. So we're doing stuff. We're on the move. And Mars here is going to do, so it's going to act as a bit of a social catalyst to get you moving. You're motivated to lead. You're more motivated to connect. You're more motivated to advocate for yourself or someone else. It's a very active change. So look for motion. Maybe you join a social group. You're launching something. You step into a role in your community. But at a deeper level beyond the ego, I think we want to remember that Mars in Aquarius here also sharpens and matures your opinions, your sense of justice, what you're passionate about, what you're like, no, I'm willing to fight for that. So it also teaches us at that deeper, I think, wiser level to refine your fire. Use your fire wisely, right? Mars is fiery, and then you put it in an air sign like Aquarius, and we have got the opportunity to just let the sparks fly. Do we need to debate everything, or what is the thing that you are willing to debate, right? Use your fire, use this combination for purpose. Now, on the 26th, as we're coming to the close of our month, Neptune is coming back into your sign, lighting up your first house space, this spiritual identity rebirth. It's gentle, it's profound, it's powerful. It can also feel like it's blurring the lines between who you thought you were, who you are becoming. And sometimes the hallway, Aries, between who you were and who you're becoming, it feels like you're the goo in the middle. It can feel a little bit like, what is this? And that is okay. Now, you had an experience with it in 2025. So this is continuing that journey because this is the beginning of a major chapter in your life and in your being, right? You think about this. Besides a short visit in 2025, Neptune hasn't been in Aries since the 1800s. So it's your time with this to allow the parts of you, work with the energy, allow the parts of you that are not serving your identity. They were based in fear, they were based in survival, they were based in an outdated belief of all sorts of things, to soften and dissolve away. And it sounds very nice, but when you're in it, sometimes it can be really scary. So I want you to look for subtle cues that can help you. You're becoming softer. You're stepping into your intuition more. You're more inspired. You're feeling more connected to what does my spirit, my soul actually say to this? And you're less interested in like forcing things. These are all really good signs that spiritual courage is on board for you. Okay. It's not fighting the world, it's meeting the world with presence and in empowered energy, free of all of the defenses we've needed to survive before. All right, my absolutely beautiful Aries, I hope this breakdown really helps you. If you want to go deeper and you want to know what this is for you, this is the place where you either become an astrologer or you see an astrologer. And if I or any of my colleagues can help you, click in the description box down below. I would love to see you. Enjoy January, and please let me know how it unfolds for you in the description box down below or in the comment section down below. Bye, Aries. Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful Taurus friends, and welcome to your January 2026 horoscope. Taurus, before we jump in, if you do not have your own natal chart, Please click into the description box down below and make sure you grab one, or go to like Cafe Astrology, AstroSeek, AstroDeans, get your chart so that you can actually see these in your own life, in your own energy, because the best astrology is your astrology. What I have for you is a general vibe of the month. I think it's very good, very clear, but I want you to have the best because you're Venusian and you deserve it. That's it. And there it is. Okay, Taurus, this month, wow. I think that January arrives like this brilliant tap on the shoulder. You know, it's firm enough to get your attention, it's soft enough to get your attention, but it still lets you have your tea. But this month does ask you, Taurus, to expand your worldview, to shift your beliefs, to deal with legal things if they have come up, clarify your money story, and make sure that your life is structured towards the future goals that you have. It's a month truly that the inner landscape that you are currently working with, this is where the long-term plans are starting to form from. So I'm really excited to break down this month, so let's get in here. On the 1st, we see Mercury moving into fellow Earth energy of Capricorn, and this lights up your 9th house space. As Mercury comes into this 9th house space of publishing, marketing, broadcasting, international travel, legal things, immigration, higher education. It's all these places where our minds have to open beyond the horizons that we're currently working with. So Mercury here does open your mind. Suddenly the world feels bigger, things feel more possible, your routine feels smaller, and you crave something with more meaning. Maybe you're learning something that is stretching your worldview in some way. It stretches you beyond what you thought were possible, right? This is the transit, Taurus, that says to you, maybe I could go back to school. I don't know. Let me see how I feel about that. Why am I going back to school? Is it try to earn my worth, or is it because I have something I actually want to learn and then give out and help people? It can also be a transit. You have to pay attention because you're like, let me Google those flights really quick. And you're off ready to sail away, right? But it can also be a really delicious transit where mentally the way communication is coming through for you, where you go, I finally understand. I see it. I see why I've been stuck in that particular mindset. And I see a way out of it as well. Now, the second layer that comes with this particular transit to me starts from that belief reorganization, right? Old assumptions get the opportunity to start falling away. You thought this is just the way life is. This is just the way that I am. And suddenly those things feel a bit more negotiable because Mercury in Capricorn wants to meet you where you're at and say, okay, but let's create a long-term plan that is full of wisdom. It's not full of fear. So what does that look like for you, Taurus? Let me know in the comment section down below, and let me know how any of this is resonating with you for sure. On the 3rd, we've got a full moon happening in Cancer. Now, this is going to be at 13 degrees of Cancer, lighting up your 3rd house space. Now, the full moon's going to ask us, Taurus, to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to pivot. Now, this is a part of a longer story that you're already a part of, but we do need to make the pivot here around how you're communicating, your voice, your communication patterns, how you give and receive information, your daily rhythm, and who you're connected with. Also, the 3rd house has a lot to do with siblings and contracts as well. So I'll be curious to know what's unfolding for you. But something you've been thinking about, processing, holding back, now is looking for its emotional expression, right? This could be a really vulnerable conversation that you're having around something or someone. Your mindset has shifted, and that might be leaving you a bit tender. It's empowering, but maybe it's a little bit tender. Maybe you have some clarity around something that's really been bothering you, and it hasn't been an intellectual understanding at all. It's been something that's more emotional. The realization around the way that you have been, your emotions have been narrating your life. But it does require at this lunation some emotional honesty. Because Cancer in the 3rd house, it's going to bring that blend of the communication for sure, but it's with the emotional intuition that comes with this as well. So Taurus, if you're finding out too that a place of emotions that's lighting up for you is the communication of what's attempting to come up through your body, this lunation is encouraging you to be courageous in your vulnerability and to look for ways to release that emotional story. Okay, January 6th, Mars is going to come back in balance, having been out of balance since November of 2025. Hopefully, it was very useful for you. I hope it was very useful for you. I shared the story of how Stormie Grace was actually started and carries the signature of Mars out of bounds. So I'm hoping that it means you took the intensity and you took some leaps forward. But now, as Mars comes back in bounds, it's stabilizing all of the things that you brought in. It's stabilizing that energy that you were able to leap forward so you can gain a bit more control over your reactions and the desires that you have to use the resources and use your internal fire. So let's enjoy the energy coming down just a little bit with that vibration. On the 17th, Venus, your ruling planet, is going to roll into the vibration of Aquarius, lighting up the 10th house space. Now, Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is an attracting in energy. You are a Venusian, baby. Call it in. Point your hips at it and tell it to come to you. That is Venus. It's what do you value? In your 10th house space, Venus is calling in a lot of attraction to you right now, Taurus, because in the 10th house of your career, your public image, your identity, the reputation you carry in public, your professional life, your image out there is getting a glow up with Venus coming here because it's attracting and oozing in. So notice opportunities coming to find you. Notice you having a sense of being more socially accepted, right? Your reputation benefits here, and it's quite charming. As a matter of fact, as well, Venus is quite charming, but this is Aquarius charm. So it's more like you're charming to groupings of people, or you're charming because of your brilliance in some way. You're more charming in a tech platform. Technology becomes a part of the story. Whatever it is, anything that aligns with that Aquarian progressive attitude, you're going to have more of an attraction field. And don't be surprised if a friend becomes a lover. Venus does that all the time. On the 18th, we've got a new moon happening in Capricorn at 28 degrees. So look that up in your particular chart, but in the general, this is back into the space of the ninth. Now, the new moon is where we're going to plant our seeds of intention. The sky is dark. You don't actually know what this looks like just yet. You're creating through intuition. You can sense it, but you can't quite put your fingers around it. This is a doorway to a new belief system for you, a new spiritual life, a new long-term direction for yourself, maybe a new country. Capricorn's old soul wisdom here, banding together in this ninth house vibration, the meaning is expressed as this is not just a big dream. It's something that I can make tangible, but I need the proper foundation for it, right? And the deeper impact of this, because there's always this surface level space where we can see it, but I think there's always a deeper level impact as well, particularly if you're in the zone of being over 35. The depth and the weight that comes with this transit is about a shift in the understanding of your internal compass. You might have a revelation about where you want to go, literally, geographically, where do you want to go? Spiritually, where do you want to go? Intellectually, where do you want to go? It's an ideal time for starting something that's going to take planning or long-term attention. On the 19th, now the sun moves into Aquarius, lighting up, of course, that 10th house space, joining Venus, joining Pluto over there. And this highlights your career. It's bringing light, heat, life, and vitality. Something about your public identity, Taurus, in January is getting clearer. Maybe you feel pushed to innovate. You want to have a rebrand. And even if the rebrand is just, your title in public can be more than CEO, employee of, it can be wife, it can be mother, it can be friend, it can be what do we call you in public? And it's getting a rebrand. You're like, I don't need to be afraid to stand out. It's kind of what that energy is like. Now on the 20th, I love this aspect. Saturn is going to come into a sextile with Uranus, who's retrograde and in your sign. So this becomes a conversation between your 11th house and your first house spaces, okay? So it's one of the, I think, most meaningful transits of the year because Uranus has already traveled all of the Taurus vibration and now is coming back for a second look at it. And this is an energy that I think restores your faith in community. and restores your understanding of the role you can play in community and the weight that it plays into your future plans for yourself. Listen, people change because of people. You want to change, you want to meet that long-term goal, you want to have a different experience, there's got to be some community. The reinvention of Taurus at these mastery degrees, these last levels of Uranus, is a reinvention that has been happening from the inside out, but it calls a new community so that you can shine your light and say, I'm like these people, we're going in the same direction. And as these two planets are in cooperation, I think you receive some beautiful breakthrough energy about where you're headed. You realize you've outgrown a friendship group or a social space. You're stepping more into leadership in group spaces. You're leaving behind people who limit the expansion, or they're just not in alignment with the life that you want to live next, right? And it sounds easy while we're talking about the horoscope, the general horoscope, but as you're living this, your spiritual authority meets a different level of your authenticity, I think, and that helps you make that move. Now, also, we're going to see that Mercury is going to move into Aquarius as well. Sun, Pluto, Venus, now Mercury over here. And we're going to see just a day later, a couple days later, Mars is also going to move into Aquarius. So the gang's all here in the top portion of your chart. And your mind is ready to think long term. You're ready to be in the big picture. And Mars is ready to take action in that energy. It's ready to make the moves, do the work, but you're doing the work that's it's about alignment. It's not just impulsive and reactive, right? It invites you to lead. It invites you to lead and move and act and be in your authenticity. I absolutely love it. Now, as we're going to close out the month on the 26th, Neptune is coming back into the vibration of Aries, lighting up your 12th house space. Now, we have already had a little sneak peek of this in 2025. So what did you start to see, start to learn? Some things were starting, you're like, whoa. You know, there was some spiritual truth coming to the table. And it is a profound shift. I don't want to minimize this at all because it is a profound shift as Neptune comes here to actually do this work through your 12th house space. It's a long cycle of spiritual cleansing, intuitive and spiritual awakening, dream work, inner healing, connecting to the worlds that move between the worlds. So your old wounds, your fears, your subconscious fears, emotional debris, stories kept stuck in your hips from situations long gone, requited love, the story with food and the body. Neptune comes here and it can be a piece of compassionate, gentle dissolving, but it is a dissolving. So this is a space where I'm going to tell you, trusting your intuition and getting reconnected to the Venusian that you are, connecting to that intuition and allowing it to speak louder than your logic at times is really going to be the way you stay compassionate and that intuition gets louder so that you can start to help yourself heal, right? It can heighten your sensitivity to sounds and smell, and your dream life and your symbolic life can become incredibly pronounced. One of the things I would share with you, or I would shift your attention to, Taurus, is that not everything is a sign. Not everything is a sign. Okay, if you're waiting to make some kind of practical decision and you're waiting for the microwave to read 11:11 and you only ever catch it at 11:12, it's not necessarily a sign. Okay, not everything's a sign, but I would be paying more attention to your dream life, your emotional and spiritual fitness as well. All right, my beautiful Taurus friends, January is going to awaken you in a different way. I don't think it's loud, but I think it is more in alignment with your future self. I can't wait to hear about what you're doing, what you're creating, no matter what season of life you're in. Share with us in the comment section down below. Join the tribe here if it's the right tribe for you. I love you a ton, and I will see you next month. Bye, Taurus. My absolutely brilliant and beautiful Gemini friends, and welcome to your horoscope for January of 2026. Gemini, if you do not already have your own natal chart, please make sure that you grab it because I'm going to give you a beautiful general reading, but I want you to have the best astrology, and the best astrology is your astrology. So make sure you grab your chart so you can see exactly where the degrees are of these events in your chart. But Gemini, January feels a bit like someone's cleared out your mental windshield a little bit. Not because everything like suddenly gets easy or anything like that. It's because things become more visible. When you like use the windshield wiper and you're like, oh, it's like that a little bit. This month brings some space for some breakthroughs for you, particularly around intimacy, around money, and around communication. So it's like you're rethinking what you believe, what you share, how you relate. And you were calling it truth before, but now you have a different vision of that. So let's walk through what this month has to offer. On the first, we see Mercury, your ruling planet, moving into the vibration of Capricorn, and this is going to light up your eighth house space. So the eighth house is about intimacy and assets, is how I identify it. So anything where you are jointly connected to another resource really deeply, whether that be through finance, through debt, through trauma, through astrology, it all lives in this eighth house where there's going to be a joint cooperation. If one side moves, so will the other. Now, as your ruling planet Mercury moves through this eighth house space, your mind wants to dive deeper than usual, right? It's shadow work kind of energy. It's financial clarity kind of energy. It's therapy breakthrough kind of energy that you're working with. But it's more from the position of you're able to see the motivations that got you there or what was happening behind the scenes. Your motivation, other people's motivation, but there's an accuracy. Mercury is going to go for the accuracy. So I would expect as we're coming into this month, those conversations around money, intimacy, vulnerability, but they become more productive instead of scary. There's a second layer here because the eighth house does bring its own intensity. And I think that the eighth house is it's not small talk territory, right? It's about what do I share and how do I share it? What do I fear? What do I need to heal? What's the honesty around these questions? It's that kind of terrain that you in. So if you find yourself this month analyzing those deeper themes, looking more at power dynamics in your relationships, looking at old emotional patterns that you have, or looking at why certain situations trigger you, I think that's definitely an expression of this particular transit. But this transit will have also sharpened your mind and your intuition to be able to see the truth behind what that particular experience is. Now, on the 3rd, we've got a full moon happening in Cancer at 13 degrees, and this will light up your second house space. The full moon wants us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to pivot in some way. But this is a lunation that's about what do you value? Emotionally and materially, what do you value? Cancer in the second house stirs up these feelings about what makes you feel secure. What money habits make you feel secure or insecure? It's about your sense of worth. Where is that level of security being derived from? You may have a moment under this Cancerian vibration as well where you feel the cost of the things that you value, right? Or you realize in some way you've been giving or taking too much in terms of emotional labor, particularly if you've been giving too much and there hasn't been this reciprocation going on with it. It may be an energy where you're going, I need to look at that. Now, at a deeper level, I think that this is about self-trust. I think that this is a lunation about self-trust. The moon's going to show you where you've been settling for something. Not that you had the lack of ability, but you were just settling because you were learning to trust yourself and honor that particular value. So where you pivot from what you find out here over the next 4 weeks, I think will be pretty important. On the 6th, we actually see Mars come back in bounds after having been out of bounds since November. So it kind of calms some of the vibration that's been in the air that's been a little bit more unstable. It's been a little bit more impulsive. It's been a little bit more woof, right? And now some of the things that hopefully you took action on where you were taking actions that were outside of your norm or you had desires that were outside of your norm, now they're able to stabilize and we can use that fire a little bit differently. On the 17th, we see Venus moving into the vibration of Aquarius. Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is an attracting and calling in energy. But the question here, always with Venus, is can you receive? And what do you value that you're calling in so that you can receive it? So in your ninth house of publishing, marketing, broadcasting, higher education, international travel, things that go beyond your current horizon. Venus is bringing a little romance, a little adventure. It's calling in. It's like, I want this. It's kind of an open-hearted vibe, right? You crave connection here and you want to call in connection to yourself that's maybe a little bit more intellectual. The ideas, the dreams, the future plans, the visions. Love becomes philosophical. Conversations about money and values become more philosophical. They're in the ninth house. You're attracting in and attracted to people who challenge a world idea or a belief that you have had for a very long time, and they inspire you. First they piss you off and then they set you free, and they inspire you, and they inspire you to open your mind and open your ability to receive by being in connection with them. On the 18th, we've got a new moon happening in Capricorn. This is at 28 degrees of Capricorn. Now, this is going to light up your eighth house space as well. Okay, this new moon is the space where you're planting your seeds of intention to begin something new. It's in the dark, so it's kind of grainy. You can just have an intuition about it, but you can't actually touch it, taste it yet, even though this is Earth sign Capricorn. But this is really a lunation of not only emotional maturity, but emotional and material world maturity as well. At 28 degrees of Capricorn, this is mastery level. You do know something in this space. You know it. You know something about healing, about intimacy, about power dynamics. So this becomes a place where you're setting the energy in motion to have a new cycle of how you merge with people. Emotionally, spiritually, financially, how do you come together with other energies? Now, at a deeper level, it's karmic. It's also karmic. 28 degrees is carrying old soul energy. It's old soul wisdom, right? So something that maybe you've been avoiding emotionally or something you've been avoiding financially actually is ready now for its new beginning. And I think you're going to be able to work that out over this next 4 weeks. On the 19th, we see the sun entering into the vibration of Aquarius. On the 20th, we see Mercury entering into Aquarius. And on the 23rd, we see Mars entering into Aquarius. And now remember, the Venus and Pluto are also over here. So the gang is all in. Now, the energy of your ninth house is packed this month. This bigger picture for you, going beyond your horizon, that higher education, that travel, it's all about setting yourself up for success with your future self, right? Your thinking becomes a bit more bold here because it is Aquarian energy. You may have thoughts that come to you that feel like they hit you like a lightning bolt, or you have opportunities that come to you quite suddenly, and maybe it's about teaching, learning, traveling, these kinds of things. It's an opportunity to say yes and to come out of a little bit of intellectual hibernation, maybe, and share your voice in a different kind of way. With this pack and stellium of planets over here as well, your words can be the words that inspire or shift someone's perspective, and someone could be doing it to you as well. So it's a perfect time for studying anything you've had a hardcore philosophy around. Now, I want to go back to the 20th as well, because we'll also see that Saturn comes into a sextile with Uranus, who's still retrograde in Taurus. This creates a conversation for you where first of all, it's a major moment. Saturn is vibrating here in Pisces in your 10th house space. Your career, your reputation, your soul level calling, your reputation. What do we call you in public? And Uranus is having this conversation in your 12th house space, which is the place of your unconscious, subconscious, fears, undoings, behaviors, creative things also live here. And as they're coming together in a collaborative energy with one another, it's an opportunity for maturity and discipline, spirit and intuition to all come together. And this, I think, makes it easier, Gemini, for you to shake loose, literally. outdated beliefs and identities that just aren't working anymore because it like dissolves these blockages that have been there. They create a breakthrough energy. When Uranus gets involved, it's a breakthrough energy. But I don't think that this is necessarily new. They have both already been through these signs and moved on to the next sign. So this may be the last vestiges or like a finally getting your hands around dealing with what's coming up in this area. So this can manifest for you, Gemini, just to give you some cues of maybe what's happening as, first of all, you really do have a really sudden career insight, epiphany, okay? You realize how much fear has been driving decisions that you've been making. You know, you've been a little bit asleep at the wheel and fear has been driving it, but now you see it and so you can do something different with it. There's an old identity block, particularly around things about success and money. It can be the time where you finally step into that calling, but it feels like it was divinely timed for you to find it right in this moment, right? Now, as we're going to close out the month, Gemini, we have got Neptune coming back into the vibration of Aries. This is into the 11th house space for you. We got a taste test of this last year. So it's still a big deal as this is coming forward because it's creating a generational shift. You know, we haven't really worked with this energy long term since the 1800s. So you got to kind of think this is a big deal. But for you, not only does it change your friendship and your social groups and your idea and identity around technology, science, all of these things, the world is also ready for you to step into it. You might have wanted to be playing in certain places and being connected to certain people who have a really strong impact on you, particularly they feel soul or spiritually aligned. And the world hadn't even made a space for it yet. And now it can. And you're called to stepping into those spaces with a fair amount of spiritual courage because your future self becomes infused by the soul and the imagination that you have the courage to go into these spaces and say, this is who I am. People change because of people. So the communities you're connected to will be telling the story of who you are and how you're shifting at a deeper level. But one that I think that is as equally life-changing as well is that I think that your intuition really has permission to guide you to these people in these places that are along the higher path. They're more spiritually aligned. But of course, you've got to be mindful because Neptune, particularly in these beginning degrees, can be deceptive as well, right? So trust your intuition and also question reality. All right, my beautiful Gemini friends, I think you've got the potential for an absolutely brilliant month. If you want to know what this is like more for you personally in your life, this is where you either become an astrologer or you see an astrologer so that you can get into the depths and the nitty-gritty of your own particular chart. So if myself or one of my colleagues can help you out, make sure you click in the description box down below and come share with us. If not, if you're ready, you got it, you're sorted, just let me know in the comment section down below how this month is shaping out for you. I love you, Gemini. Have a great month. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Cancer friends, and welcome to your horoscope for January of 2026, where Cancer, first of all, if you don't already have your own natal chart, please make sure that you either click in my description box down below or go to one of the free resources online to pull up your chart so that you can see exactly where these events are happening in your personal chart, because I'm going to give you a really good general overview, but the best astrology is your astrology, and we can only get to that through your chart. So make sure that you have that, okay? Now, Cancer, January feels like someone dimmed the lights just a little bit, wrapped a blanket around your shoulders and said, let's tell the truth about some things. So as you're traveling this month and this emotional clarity, I think gets to come online, particularly through partnership shifts, through intimacy upgrades, right? You're able to hold your capacity for vulnerability in a different level. And this sense of direction that seems to be coming more and more online, everything seems to really come through the heart first, and then it leads you out with action. Let's walk through this month together so you can see what I'm talking about. First of all, in the beginning of the month, on the 1st, Mercury is moving into the vibration of Capricorn, which is right across the street from you. So it's going to light up this 7th house space. So there's some relationship clarity and focused and honest conversations, and also some commitment choices that need to be made as we're coming into the beginning of the year. You know, the 7th house is conscious, chosen, one-on-one relationships and partnerships. So first of all, you know who you're engaging with, whether that's a lover, a business partner, or even an open enemy. Maybe you're in a court case with somebody, but you know the other person on the other side, right? Agreements need to be made, or they need to be negotiated. A commitment that you're looking to take on needs to be done in fact, not assumption, right? Mercury here wants a lot more firm understanding of the information that it's in the vicinity of. It wants transparency, but it also wants emotional and material maturity around the decisions that you're making. Now, there's another layer to this, Cancer, that I think really sharpens your assessment ability through this transit. You know, you might be really evaluating if a relationship or how you're in a relationship is reflecting who you truly are today. And that may require one version or one person in the relationship to step up with some honesty, or to speak up with some honesty and be like, hey, some things are off track here. Or, you know, you make the decision that you're going to start to show up in your conscious chosen relationships in a different way. It's a really powerful time, because what you might find is that some of what comes with that is certainly a relationship renegotiation, right? Maybe it's a deepening of commitment, because you're going to go back and repair a relationship that is not broken. It's just been damaged, and it needs to have a repair as you learn to handle more of the vulnerability and the emotional maturity that comes with it, right? It's a really brilliant kind of energy, and I think you're completely built for it. Now, on the 13th, on the 3rd, we're going to have a full moon that is happening in your sign at 13 degrees. So make sure you're locating that on your particular chart. The full moon is going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to pivot, and we need to shift here. So as this full moon is coming through your 1st house, it's illuminating, Cancer, your body. It's illuminating your sense of self, your identity, your deepest vulnerabilities around all of these external things that we can really see and you believe shape and represent who you are. So this particular full moon to me feels a little bit more like you have access to an identity detox. It's kind of raw, it's very cleansing, but it's incredibly clarifying as well. Things that you've been holding on to, even if it can be a story of generations that came before you, it's like it rises to the surface, but it's coming for renewal, and it's a clarity renewal. It's a deeper reclamation. And certainly if you're in the space of being over 35, and you're on that heroine's journey, whatever it is, wherever you're at that particular path, you may be seeing how this lunation helps you pivot that identity from this version of yourself, the one that was built on caretaking, overgiving, emotional suppression, not being connected to your hips, all of these kinds of things. And you're seeing where it's asking you the questions of, okay, what do I need? Who am I really? What's my truth around this? And that helps you to be able to bring in this particular pivot. As we get to the 6th, Mars is actually coming back in balance. It's been out of balance since November. So if a bit of the energy has felt hectic or unstable, or your nervous system's felt like it's been taking a lot on, as Mars comes back in balance, you know, we can look for a little bit more settling, particularly in the action or the desire to take actions that you have. On the 17th, we're going to see that Venus moves into the vibration of Aquarius. On the 19th, we see that the Sun moves into Aquarius. And on the 20th, we see Mercury moves into Aquarius. And on the 23rd, we see Mars moves into Aquarius. So listen, friend, the gang is all here. And the focus is on your 8th house of what I call intimacy and assets. So this is the place where you're connected to some other source, resource. And if something changes on that side, you're going to shift. And if you change, something on that side shifts, right? There's a deep connection. We have death, we have debt, we have taxes, we have healing, we have sex, we have trauma, we have astrology. We have these places where we get down to the soft white underbelly of who we are. And in this joint resource, it can poke you and be painful. It can also transform you and massively empower you. So as we have this stack of planets moving into your 8th house space, first of all, Mars gives you a lot of courage to confront anything that needs to be done, anything you've been avoiding it, whether it be emotionally, physically, philosophically, physiologically, financially, sexually, whatever it is, you get some drive with that particular energy. The sun brings light, heat, life, and vitality. So you know you have some motivation and the energy is in your favor and in your sails behind this. Now, because this is Aquarius energy, with all of the planets moving into the space, it is about Aquarian themes. It is about liberation. And we have the beautiful Venus here softening your fears around doing this work and being in this vulnerability. It's more of an attracting in energy and a softening energy so that you realize whether it's an intimate wound, it's a financial wound, it's deeply empowering conversations that you're going to have, you're able to do it in a way that doesn't feel like rejection or fear, or like your nervous system gets set on fire, that you can inch and baby step yourself into this. On another layer, with Venus moving here, money and shared resources, any kind of financial thing, you're going to have important conversations about that. If it's getting rid of debt, if it's doing your investing, long-term merging of finances, you're taking out a loan, you're finally getting done with that estate, whatever it is, the tone is pretty compassionate and Venus is pretty helpful here. Now, on the 18th, moving back just a little bit, we've got the new moon happening in Capricorn at 28 degrees. This is a place for you to plant your seeds of intention, Cancer. This lights up your 7th house space. What do you want to begin in this new cycle of your relationships? It's wise, it's grounded, it's mature, it's less romantic fantasy and more healthy long-term love, right? Whether that be a business partner, a partnership style that you're into, it's like you have an opportunity to set new standards for the level of relationship dynamic you'd like to participate in. So some of this may be how you're in commitment. You're bringing a deeper bond into your table. There is a new partnership that requires commitment that comes into your life. You're clarifying boundaries. You're going back and realizing, I did damage in this relationship with these ideas and behavior. I owe forgiveness into this relationship if it's going to be able to last long term. Now, on the 20th, we're also going to see that Saturn comes into a sextile with Uranus, who's retrograde still in Taurus. This transit, I think, is beautiful. It's cooperative. It lights up the space between your 9th and your 11th houses, Cancer. So this is where you have this shift between your worldview, your public, your marketing, your broadcasting, anything that expands you out into the world, maybe a long-term higher education certification, teaching something that you were taking on, and your future goals in that 11th house and the communities that are also going to help you to get there, and certainly technology, right? Now, Saturn has been helping you to mature spiritually. And Uranus has popped you open intellectually to see the world from a very different viewpoint. And it also has likely really shaken up your network, which let some friends, some connections begin to fall away and made space in the world for other new connections for you to be a part of. So as they come together, I think that this is healing through clarity. Healing through where you're going to have the clarity of connection to the groups that you're connected to. If you've had some old beliefs that really haven't helped you set up the life that you'd like to be experiencing, you may find yourself in a new community, or now you're stepping into leadership in a community space that you've already been in, but you are ready in some way to expand your worldview, but it's not to escape. This is more of that place of you're not running from something, you're running towards something. And it's a really beautiful energy. So, if you can think about it, and take this into your perspective that this particular transit is more of your personal healing about what you're going to give in your future contribution, I think you can work with it brilliantly. Now, as we're going to close out the month on January 26th, we see Neptune stepping back into the vibration of Aries. We had a snick snack treat of this. We got a little view of it in 2025. And this is lighting up your 10th house space. But now Neptune's ready to come back and do this work. So this is a new spiritual chapter in your career, in your purpose, in your public reputation, Cancer. And what will you call it, right? It's kind of huge. We really haven't worked long term with Neptune in Aries since the 1800s. So think about what a generational shift and mind frame in the world that is even developing and available for you to be growing into. But now as Neptune comes back and is going to do this work in your 10th house space, it's the beginning of a very long cycle of spiritualizing your purpose around your career and what we call you in person, right? What is your calling? What is your identity? How long have you been able to ride and glide off of an identity in public that seems to be dissolving how you're able to show up in the world, right? There might be this place and it can feel subtle. It can feel more quiet, like you're being nudged, maybe in a way towards work that's more compassionate, towards something it needs to have more meaning for you, but it's like dissolving. It's getting fuzzy around the edges, right? Those old ambitions don't feel like they fit so much anymore, but they are dissolving to make room for authentic purpose in your being now. In the public sphere, this can literally change your public image as well. You know, we can't just paint Neptune as the great compassionate healer of all things. Sometimes this is a scandal. This is something that was done in the dark. It's coming to light. This can be that you're taking on an absolutely healing or creative role, and someone is leaning in too much on you, like they've made you their guru god, and you're like, whoa, hold on. So these are things that you will need to be mindful as well. And of course, not doing these to other people. But the transition here, as we really start to walk and work with it, can feel like a gentle awakening, or it can feel a bit fearful as well, because something about what you've always known is dissolving. My suggestion to you is you're not going to be able to fight the cloud of Neptune. Go with it. Listen below the surface of everything that you've known and find yourself in spaces of people who have already taken a journey that is something similar to this. All right, my absolutely beautiful Cancer friends, I hope that you have a gorgeous month. Please let me know in the comment section down below how the month is unfolding for you. What are you working on? Where are you at? You don't need to put a comment down there that you're like, Stormie, I'm living my best life. If you're not living your best life, share with us. This is a community of people who are interested in astrology and interested in supporting each other. So let us know in the comment section down below how the month is going. I love you a ton, Cancer. I hope you have a gorgeous month, and I look forward to seeing you in February. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Leo friends, and welcome to your horoscope for January of 2026. Where Leo, first and foremost, if you do not already have your own natal chart, please make sure that you click in the description box down below or get a free one online, because I'm going to give you a really good general reading, but the best astrology is your astrology, and you've got to have your chart in order to get into it. So make sure that you have that. All right, Leo, let's see. So January kind of feels like this backstage moment before the curtain actually rises and you go on stage, right? It's a little bit more quiet. It's more intentional. It's a little bit more emotional, but it's also this breath of like clarity where you're going, okay, we're going to do this. So the world sees your shine, Leo. We see you. You're the sun. But this is more of a month where you're doing a bit more of the inner work that makes that shine sustainable. So it's something I just want you to kind of hold that vision of as you're traveling through the month here, because all of it, anything to be shiny, kind of begins with some kind of healing, sometimes of clearing, some kind of whatever that makes the spotlight get really, really big. And I believe that that's a fair amount of what we're going to be focusing on this month. The other portion of this month has massive amounts to do with partnership, right? The partnership shifts and conversations that are up and available in your world right now are absolutely massive. So by the end of the month, I think that this awakening in your identity, in particular in how you are able to be or not be in partnership and relation to other human beings, is going to be pretty big. Let's jump in and talk about what the month has to offer. So first of all, as we're coming into 2026, January 1st brings Mercury into the vibration of Capricorn. Now, this is bringing a different kind of energy and thinking, and it's bringing your mind to your 6th house of daily routines. This is your schedule, how you set your day up. The way that you structure your day. Are you in service to your day and to your health and to your wellness? Or are you in servitude? You are a slave to your life. What does this look like? Because that's what's happening in the 6th house. Now, this also includes mental health and wellness. I put this up here as well. In an outward kind of way, it can be, if you're an independent contractor, contracts or projects that you're working on, or maybe you're being of service to someone else, you're a caretaker in some way, to include those small pets as well. Either way, as Mercury is coming here into the 6th house space, you may begin to notice every detail of your daily life. It's becoming really apparent to you. You're like, well, that drains me. This works, but how come this whole section of my day just kind of disappeared? Where did that go? What was I doing with that? You're starting to ask these questions. And also, I believe the benefit is that you'll also be asking and listening to what your body is telling you. What is my body saying here? Either way, this is the vibration of Capricorn. So in your day-to-day way, the role in the energy is, okay, let's get our life together. Let's get our life together. That is this transit, because your mind becomes more practically and materially focused on problem solving and on making sure that this is a really good structured foundation for you to be living out of in a daily routine. Now, there's a deeper layer to this, Leo, that I think is really important. And the deeper layer when we're in Capricorn season is about respect, right? Self-respect. Are you living in a daily system, in a daily way, in a mental pattern that allows you to treat yourself in a moment by moment way with respect? Because the way that you regard yourself and the way you set your day up does speak to a level of respect for yourself. And this will shape your entire year as well. So Mercury helps you, I think, see which things are responsibilities and deserve your time and deserve your energy, and which ones that you've outgrown, where it's like, no, that doesn't actually respect me. When I eat like that, when I'm thinking like that, when I'm distracted like that, that doesn't really make me respect myself. So I'll be curious to see what comes up for you as you're experiencing this transit. Now, when we get to the 3rd, we've got a full moon happening in Cancer. This is going to be at 13 degrees of Cancer, so make sure you locate that on your chart. Now, this lights up that 12th house space because it's just over right behind the scenes, right? This is that place. The curtain is down right now, but it's going to be coming up. But first, we've got this full moon that's going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to shift and pivot in some way. Now, in the 12th house, this is all about, I think the full moon gives you an emotional and spiritual kind of pressure release valve, right? Emotions that have been buried, things that have been voided, maybe even projects that you've been working on behind the scenes. Now they're like rising up to the surface to really be realized and to be released in some way. And the 12th house, this is where we are trying to let things transition or come to their culmination or be what they need to be while we hold the world quite loosely, right? But also, your dream life at this time can become really vivid, or you're having these realizations that just like couldn't come to you in the daylight, but you're making peace with understanding the emotional component of it, even in your dream life. It's a clearing moon is the thing I want you to keep in mind. It's clearing. It's not a collapse. It's just a clearing and a cleansing. But it is about an element in the 12th house of surrender. The 12th house governs our endings, our intuition, letting go of what no longer serves us anymore, letting go of what doesn't serve the energetic field anymore. So as we are releasing, we're finding those things, particularly emotionally, in the psyche, in the fears, in the old behaviors that we really don't need anymore. When we get to January 6th, we'll actually see Mars coming back in bounds, which I think is important because as Mars was traveling out of bounds starting in November, Mars outside of the jurisdiction of the sun, right? Your ruling planet kind of gets to do what it wants. And it's a lot more passionate, it's a lot more fury. And now it's great because it allows us to see desires that are outside of our normal focus. And it allows us to take actions that we maybe wouldn't normally take. I talk about it. Stormie Grace as a business was launched under a Mars out of bounds because I needed the courage to do something that I had never done before. And now as Mars comes back inbounds, all of those things that we did can start to stabilize, and the energy starts to stabilize a fair bit as well. So look forward to a little bit of the settling of that energy of maybe you were really working on something and now it can start to become a bit more stable. On the 17th, here we go. We've got Venus moving into the vibration of Aquarius, lighting up that 7th house space. Now, we've already got Pluto over there. And then on the 19th, we'll have the Sun come into Aquarius. On the 20th, we'll have Mercury come into Aquarius. On the 23rd, we'll have Mars come into the Aquarius. So listen, the gang is all here as we're traveling through this month. Now, Venus coming into the vibration of Aquarius is first of all going to bring a little bit of a salve to your relationships. The 7th house, conscious chosen one-on-one relationships. So this can be a business relationship, a romantic relationship, a relationship with an important figure in your life, like a mentor. It can be a legal case. But the point in the 7th house is you know who's on the other side. You know who you're in contact with, right? It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise that Brenda from work doesn't like you, okay? Or vice versa. Whatever it is, you know who you're dealing with. Venus coming here. Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is an attracting and a magnetizing energy. So it's like with Venus, you point your hips at it, tell it to come to you, right? Think about that all month long. Point your hips at it, tell it to come to you. But you have to be clear on your values. So as Venus comes here into your partnership dynamics, first of all, it's going to ask the question, how do you receive in your partnerships? What do you value that you are receiving? Have those values and partnerships shifted for you? But also, can you receive, can you participate in the sweetness of receptivity, whether it be the benefits of that person fully, the relationship itself, resources that maybe come with it. This is Aquarius energy. Can you receive the freedom that maybe comes in your dynamic, conscious, chosen relationships? Can you collaborate when you're in relationship? Are you a producer of chaos or are you a producer of harmony, right? Venus coming into this space can be absolutely brilliant. And under the vibration of Aquarius, there's so much deep liberation because Aquarius really doesn't want roles. It wants the truth. So you may realize that a certain dynamic in your life needs more freedom. It needs to be more breathable. And that is what actually makes it really sweet. Now let's back up for a minute because on January 18th, we've got a new moon that is happening in Capricorn at 28 degrees. 28 degrees. This is a new moon where you're planting your seeds of intention, but you are planting under the energy of mastery. And this is mastery in that 6th house place. It's a grounded, earthy, material new beginning for you. You're committing to having integrity. You're committing to habits that are going to help your well-being, help your day be something that you set up in your daily life that is about being of service to yourself and to the world, not in slavery. And it may not be idealistic. Capricorn energy doesn't always say we're going to take on these habits that build respect for us and they're super fun. But it does say that when you build the discipline, what comes with it, that level of freedom you will really enjoy. Now, listen, particularly to my friends, any of our friends, but particularly to my friends who are 35 and up, you do not need a 40-step morning routine to be that girl. Okay, you just don't. That is not what Saturn is saying, but you have to look at what is Saturn saying for you in your daily routine. How do you need to discipline yourself so that you can embody whatever it is you're trying to become? When we get to the 20th, besides having Mercury move into Aquarius, we've also got a pretty significant aspect that I think is going to be such a treat for all of us. We've got transiting Saturn in a sextile to Uranus. Now, this brilliant sextile, first of all, for you, Leo, in the general, it lights up the space between the 8th and the 10th houses. Now, this is, I think, one of the transits of the year, and it's subtle and collaborative, right? Because these planets, first of all, they've already been in these signs and in this position and then moved on to other signs as well. So now as they're coming back, it's more of a review still on where you've got your feet under you. And they have both, particularly Saturn in this eighth house, has been showing you and helping you confront wounds that you have around intimacy, trust, merging, emotional depth, understanding death, understanding the places where we connect in terms of intimacy and some kind of asset, right? Now, Uranus in this 10th house space, Leo, has been changing you up, making you think differently about what you thought you were going to be when you grow up. Your public image, your career, your sense of what is your purpose, Leo. So as these two come together in a collaborative space, they're offering you a very easy opportunity that you can take action, intelligent action on to have a breakthrough. So maybe this shows up in your life, Leo, as you realize you can have a deeper level of vulnerability. Maybe it's even the practice of actually receiving and slowing and letting something come to you. And this strengthens your relationship with what your purpose in this world is. It's a realization that your career is shifting and you're maybe even grieving an old career identity, right? Healing emotional blocks that held you back and finding the power in that. Whatever it is, this transit, I think it's so beautiful because it offers an opportunity to integrate the healing that you've done with feeling the weight now of the purpose that you're carrying in the world, and you are honest about it, and that's a different place to live from. Now, as we are going to close out this month on the 26th, we're going to see Neptune now come back into the vibration of Aries. We had a little bit of experience with it in 2025. So first of all, go back, and when Neptune moved into Aries, what started to come up and percolate for you? Okay, what started to dissolve for you is probably a better question, right? But now Neptune is going to come back into Aries. And it's a massive shift because now we're going to actually do this work. We haven't had Neptune in Aries to work with since the 1800s. So to put this in your mind that you are genuinely a part of a new generation that's going to live and work out on this world, and some pieces of you have to dissolve and go away, and there's a new spiritual courage that's being required to live. Now for you, Leo, this is lighting up the ninth house space: publishing, marketing, broadcasting, storytelling, teaching, higher education, legal things, international travel, right? Whatever it is, there's this journey for you, certainly, of spiritual expansion, of the expansion of your fire. Your worldview may have a massive transformation. But again, so much of this, I think, is around faith and your purpose realignment as well. So for some of you, it may look like you're genuinely drawn to a whole new philosophy of life. Right? You're seeing a shift in that. Some of you, you're going to want to travel. Some of you are ready to teach. Some of you are ready to move more from traditional corporate work to soul-led work. Whatever it is, the deep layer of this, I think, is that your identity has had this shift, and now you want to move more towards what's meaningful work for you in order to expand out. But Neptune dissolves. So it's dissolving beliefs that kept you in a worldview that won't work and sustain for you anymore. And it's just kind of softening you to these new doors that are open for this version of you, right? Like your life is meant to be bigger, softer, wiser, and more aligned with your spirit, but that takes a bit of spiritual courage in order to step into that. So Leo, plenty going on for you this month. I look forward to seeing how it goes for you. Let me know in the comment section down below, where are you finding that you have softened in your relationships, particularly where it was really hard for you before, or where can you say that, here we go, coming into 2026, I can feel that there is a version of me that is not quite with me anymore, even if it's still slowly fading away. All right, let me know in the comment section down below. I love you, Leo. Have a great month, and I'll see you in February. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Virgo friends, and welcome to your horoscope for January of 2026. My beautiful Virgo friends, if you do not already have your own natal chart, please make sure you click in my description box down below and get one, or go to one of the free sites and get one for yourself, because I'm going to give you a beautiful general reading, just like everybody else on the internet. But the best astrology is your astrology. So I want you to be able to see these placements in your chart so that you can really see the impact that the astrology is having in your life and take the most advantage of that, okay? All right, Virgo. So this month kind of feels like a reset for your joy, your home, your health, your partnerships. That these things are just coming into a deeper alignment. You know, it's not this new year, new me kind of energy. It's not anything like that, but it is about clearing emotional clutter out of the way and getting some refining, which you're into, to your daily routines. I'm a Virgo rising, so I totally understand this, and reconnecting with what you actually think is purpose today, right? It's really bringing life current. So let's jump in and see how these transits are going to help us. Now, first of all, on the first of the month, coming into the new year, we've got Mercury in fellow Earth energy of Capricorn, and this lights up your fifth house space. The fifth house is joy, pleasure, play, romance, children, some hobby or something you want to take a risk to do or participate in, right? For my sports people, definitely the sporting games, the outings, all of those things fall into this house as well. Now, Mercury being your ruler, coming into your fifth house, first of all, it feels a lot more powerful, right? You feel like, oh, okay, I really can focus into this. I'm putting my mind into creativity. I'm putting my mind into more romance, joy, children, pleasure, hobbies, these sorts of things. And suddenly you're thinking about, well, hold on, what actually brings me joy? You know, you get the chance to look around and go, wow, I've been doing something. Maybe even it did bring me joy at one time, but I'm looking around now and I'm like, I've been calling this fun. I've been drumming it up like it's still fun. Is this still fun to me? Right? You really get the opportunity to see if fun really is fun for you. And I can't wait for you to explore that. But now what's brilliant about it as well is that the Capricorn nature of bringing that structure will take something from being this daydream and put it into a more tangible place. So if this is really not fun, but a different version of that would bring you fun, you can bring it into your material reality. So at a deeper level, what I think your ruler traveling through Capricorn brings you is an ultimate permission slip, right? Like, we are autonomous, sovereign human beings, but sometimes we just feel like we need a little bit of permission, particularly to have joy, have pleasure, have play, have fun. And it doesn't always have to be creating for the sake of productivity, right? This seems like it's commonplace information, but it's not always. Sometimes we're learning those lessons. And I think that this is where we get to learn that. And we also get called back to the mental story of looking at our mindset around joy, pleasure, and play, right? Creativity, joy, pleasure, and play are not luxuries. They're necessities for the spirit to live really well and for us to connect with our intuition. So right out of the gate, Virgos, please let me know where this story is playing out for you in the comment section down below, because you get to, this is CEO energy of your joy, pleasure, and play. What are you going to build in here? When we get to the third, we've got a full moon happening in Cancer, and this is at 13 degrees of Cancer. Now, the full moon is going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make some kind of adjustment. We need to pivot. Virgo, for you, this lights up the 11th house space of friends, social groupings, organizations you're connected to, long-range goals that you have for yourself, but it's groupings or some kind of social sphere that will also help you get there. And 2026, I also like to include social media in here as well. Now, as the full moon is opening and kind of cracking this light on it, this connection or this idea of belonging, I think, becomes really loud, particularly emotionally, right? Like, where do I belong? So if you're feeling a bit more tender as this lunation is coming in, where it's like, where is my tribe? Who are my people? Maybe even people in your grouping, you're like, I'm not sure if they belong over here, but I feel sad that they don't have somewhere else to go. It can kind of be this dance and dynamic. But the point here is that Cancer is going to soften this. And maybe for those of us who have been craving community, but we didn't know how to be in community, it will soften the defenses that we have and let some of those walls down so that we can begin to feel a part of community instead of standing just outside of it. Now, at a deeper level, I also think that this is about emotional alignment. Are you in groupings and places of people that you feel safe in, right? If not, people, places, and things that are all connected to types of community may begin to fall away at this lunation. Now, when we get to the 17th, we're kicking up your 6th house. We're kicking up the Aquarius area of your chart. First, the 17th, we welcome Venus into the vibration of Aquarius. When we get to the 19th, we'll welcome the Sun into Aquarius. When we get to the 20th, we'll welcome Mercury now into Aquarius. When we get to the 23rd, now Mars is in Aquarius, okay? Listen, the gang is all here. So you are working on 6th house things, and you can start to get that vibration together as soon as we're at the 17th. Keep in mind as well that Pluto is also still in the vibration of Aquarius. So even in your day-to-day life and reality, the world itself around you is changing. And the key to this, Virgo, is flexibility and adaptability, right? Move, be able to sway. You don't have to bend, but just be able to not break as well. And some of the things and some of the ways, Virgo, that you have wanted to live, the world that previously existed, it wasn't available. And you may be finding that it is now. And one of those things is very Venusian. It's about bringing grace, beauty, and ease into your routines and being clear on your values so that you can attract that in. Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is an attracting in planet. What do you value? Because what you value will be the way you're going to move and attract and magnetize things to you. Let work feel a little bit lighter. Maybe your words feel a little bit kinder. Because in the 6th house, we want to think about this in a massive way. The 6th house is your daily routines to include your mental health and wellness. Now, are you in service? Do you have a daily routine that is in service to you? Or is it in slavery and servitude? Right? This is something to think about. Now, having Venus here honors both your responsibilities to the daily things we need to take care of, to include our relationships and our finances, but it also honors the nervous system and the softness as well. You can heal through efficiency. Listen, you're a Virgo, you know all about that. All right, on the 18th, we've got a new moon happening in Capricorn. This is going to be at 28 degrees of Capricorn, though, lighting up that 5th house space. But at 28 degrees, this is a degree of mastery. So what you're beginning here, the seeds of intention that you are planting to build some CEO foundational level stuff in your material reality, is wise. It's very wise. It's a level of mastery. Right? So this mature rebirth to your creativity, to your joy, your pleasure, your play, things happening for your children, this gives you structure plus passion. So when you plant those seeds of intention, ask yourself, what would I create for my life if I trusted myself? What would I create for my life if I trusted myself? How do I want to feel love? How do I want to feel love in my daily basis? How do I want to show love? How do I want to risk showing love? And what kind of joy actually nourishes me? What kind of joy actually nourishes my children, right? This is Capricorn vibration at full mastery. So it's not a frivolous energy at all. It's the kind that will shape a beautiful foundation for you to stand on as we continue to travel through the year. Now, also when we get to the 20th, we've got a pretty cool aspect that I think is going to be important for us all year long. Transiting Saturn is sitting in a sextile to Uranus. Now, this brings a conversation between your 7th house and your 9th house. Saturn and Uranus, Saturn in Pisces, Uranus retrograde still in Taurus. They have both already been in these signs and in these positions. This is a review. But this transit, I think, is very collaborative. So it gives you an opportunity to see the healing and the benefit and the liberation of your worldview in some way that comes through partnership and comes through getting a different belief structure, right? Saturn has been teaching you a lot with that transiting south node going through your sign, with Saturn over in Pisces in your relationship zone. It has been teaching you so much about emotional maturity in your conscious chosen one-on-one relationships, whether that's a business partnership, a romance, a legal matter. There's been a lot of grow up energy, big kid energy that's been over there, I think. And then Uranus in fellow earth sign of Taurus has been shaking up your beliefs about like, what's even my future direction? What do I have faith in here? What do I believe here? So together, I think that this cooperative aspect, you get a breakthrough, a maturing in your relationships that welcomes and literally walks through the door a new phase of development, right? Maybe a partnership in your life becomes a lot more spiritually aligned. And if you've been practicing some of this Venusian vibration of how do I receive? How do I let joy, pleasure, play into my life? How do I do these things, right? I think that this natural alignment is starting to come in. Now, for others of you, you're going to be like, I'm going to travel, I'm going to study, and I'm going with this group or this person over here. Whatever it is, I think this is a brilliant space to watch and to look around and see how your shift in understanding of relationships has opened a door for you that shows you how you can take on life in a way where you're more evolved in a togetherness. Let me know what that means to you in the comment section down below. Now, as we're going to close out this month on the 26th, we're going to see that Neptune is going to step back into the vibration of Aries, and this will be in your 8th house space. Okay, now we saw Neptune in Aries just for a little bit in 2025, so we got a taste of what you're going to be working on. But think about this in the big story, Virgo. We have not had Neptune in Aries since the 1800s, so you are a part of a pretty big shift in energy. You're a part of a whole new generation of people who are going to be the spiritual intimacy warriors setting the stage for us, right? There's emotional surrender, there's vulnerability, there's deep healing that comes with this transit for you. And it is the beginning of a long transit of doing this emotional purification. That's 8th house. In the 8th house, we're going to hell and back for purification, empowerment, right? There's a soul level transformation that comes from this. Now, Neptune dissolves. It's dissolving the edges of things. So where there's been wounding in your ability to merge, to trust, to surrender, to receive, we're going to start to see some dissolving here. And where I think that this is even more important as we begin to study and work with it, because it sounds nice to talk about it in the horoscope, right? But when it's in your life and you're in your living room and you're like, right, this is when I think it gets really good, because it's also about intuitive mastery. Intuitive mastery, right? Psychological insight, vulnerability, insight. And it's a gift that can awaken in you. Your relationship to intimacy and assets, as I call the 8th house, becomes softer. And in that soft, it becomes more empowered and more profound. So I'm really curious, as we are taking this trip through 2026, Virgo, to hear how this is shaping up for you. Hear how this is, you're finding yourself being deeper, being braver, and you can tell that the healing is happening and it's in there. And you don't have to force it. You're becoming it naturally. Let me know how that is shaping up in your story in the comment section down below. Virgo, it's going to be a month. I don't know if it's going to be your best month ever. I don't know if it's going to be your not best month ever. That will depend on your personal chart. But I know that January is a time where there's creative awakening for you, particularly around joy, pleasure, play, vulnerability, and receiving. And I can't wait to see how you do traveling with that. Let me know in the comment section down below. I love you a ton, and I will see you in February. Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful Libra friends, and welcome to your horoscope for January of 2026, where Libra this month is a lot more about getting your inside sorted and getting a lot of structure around that so that in the areas of your life that have to do with joy, pleasure, play, creativity, and feeling like you're standing in your purpose, that you've really got a leg up in the game. And some of this is going to include looking at how you heal or how you're healing and living in your daily routines. So we're going to talk about all of that. But Libra, first and foremost, before we jump in, please make sure that you have your own natal chart. I'm going to give you a beautiful general reading like everybody on the internet is going to do, but the best astrology is your astrology. So make sure you have your chart so you can see where these transits are actually active in your own particular natal chart, okay? All right at the beginning of the month, Libra, on the 1st, we've got Mercury stepping into the vibration of Capricorn, lighting up your 4th house space, home, family, real estate, property. Your mental focus is going to come into the sphere of your home, your family, living situations that you're making decisions around, but also your own emotional foundations and where you find security. So for some of you, it might be very factually mercurial. You're having a conversation, an important conversation, or making decisions around a living situation that's going on in your life. You're making decisions about things that are happening in some kind of environment that you are living in. Either way, the point here is that Mercury is our communication planet moving into Capricorn. Capricorn's a cardinal energy, so you're initiating and ready to take very seriously a conversation that's at your table. Maybe you're having a conversation about things in your emotional roots, right? But at the base of it, Capricorn behaves in such a way where the conversation is serious and it's honest, but it's not necessarily in a way that's harsh. It's in a way that's like, hey, this is serious and we need to talk about it, because what you're going for during this transit is looking at communicating that inner security. So this transit is going to help you see how you can begin to use your words and your decision making to create that stability. On the 3rd, we've got a full moon happening in Cancer. This is going to light up your 10th house space, and it's at 13 degrees of Cancer. Now, in the 10th house, we're at the top of the chart. Your career, your public reputation, what we call you in public. And this is not just your job. Do we call you volunteer? Do we call you wife? Do we call you mother? Do we call you uncle? What do we call you in public? So the places where we see your name with some kind of title is where this energy will be working as well. Now, for the most part, we do tend to look at this through the lens of your career or your goals or your ambitions that you have in what you're doing in the world. Now, the full moon is going to ask us, Libra, to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to pivot in some way in order to say, I've already worked on these things and now I need to keep going on this particular path. So something you've been working on can be coming to fruition at this time, right? Something you've been avoiding can become undeniable at this particular time. And of course, it's going to be more at an emotional level because that's the energy and the vibration of Cancer. But the purpose of this lunation is clarity. You may feel a wave of realization come through, and it's an emotional knowing. You're having the clarity around it, and it's about what really does fulfill you professionally, or how you're showing up in work. Does that make you feel like you're stepping into this area of your life in integrity? Have you been overworking? Have you been underplaying? Because if we're disconnected from our intuition, which we find through play, we're going to start to have these symptoms of feeling like we're burnt out, when really it's just disconnection. When we get to the 6th, we're actually going to see that Mars comes back in bounds after having been out of bounds since November. So when Mars is out of bounds, it's out of the jurisdiction of the sun. So it kind of gets to move a little bit more wild. So the energy has been racing. The decisions you've been making, or the instincts you've had have maybe had a little bit more pressure, a little bit more fire. We're acting before we're thinking. That's a very Mars out of bounds kind of vibration. But it's also hopefully been something very good for you, so that you could take advantage of taking actions or addressing desires that you have that unless Mars got out of bounds, you wouldn't have normally done it. So now Mars is going to come back in bounds and some of that energy will settle. So it can feel like decisions that you made, tasks that you took on, you can feel more steady in acting on them as the energy moves forward. Now on the 17th, we're going to get your 5th house up, active, and loaded. So first of all, on the 17th, we see Venus move into the vibration of Aquarius. And then when we get to the 19th, we're going to see the Sun move into the vibration of Aquarius. On the 20th, we will see Mercury now come into Aquarius. And on the 23rd, we'll bring Mars into Aquarius. So when I tell you your relationship with getting your internal foundation solid and sorted and understanding what joy, pleasure, play, things around your children or children in general in your life, where you're willing to take a risk, you're ready to do some romancing, romanticizing, whatever this is. This area of your chart is highly creative and it's calling for your attention this month. The one thing I want to remind you with all of the energy pushing into this space is that Venus is not a hustle hard planet. You are a Venusian, so this is your ruling planet. Practice it. Venus calls in, but now you're going to call in like an Aquarius. You're calling in love, you're calling in joy, you're calling in play. But what do you value? How do you value those things in your life? When's the last time you allowed yourself to play, to get down on the floor, to be creative without defending yourself or feeling the guilt or the shame? When is the last time you read a romance book just because you wanted to? When's the last time you created and it didn't need to be productive? When's the last time you went against a societal expectation, Aquarius going against a societal expectation, and just went with what feels like a romanticized life to you, filled with joy and whatever pleasure and play are for you, right? Now, this can be something that is showing up for your children as well. That 5th house is really busy. So you might be asking them, what actually brings you joy? What do you truly enjoy, instead of what does society say you have to enjoy? Whatever it is, I really want to hear from you in the comment section down below. How are you working with Venus and your own Venus to attract things to you and then to receive them and enjoy them and let them amplify in abundance? Let me know how that's going for you in the comment section down below. And of course, if you're not in the Venus Reset program yet, jump in there. You're a Venusian. Be Venusian. On the 18th, we've got a new moon happening in Capricorn at 28 degrees. Now, again, this is going to light up your 4th house space. Now, what I love about this particular new moon is that it's at 28 degrees, and this is a degree of mastery. So you are planting your seeds of intention to begin something new in this home zone, in the family zone, in security, in roots. Maybe you're even doing something simple like making a plan to redecorate, right? It can be simple, but you're doing it with mastery. You know that you are serious about what you would like to build here. You know you deserve and are capable of an internal and an external stable world, and you're willing to take on the commitment and the integrity needed to build it and to bring it into your life. This looks a lot like healing the root systems and root beliefs of your life as well. So let me know, as we experience the second half of January, how this really resonates for you. Now, also, as we are here on the 20th, I don't want to fail to mention we've got a really important aspect that I think is important because it's not super common. It does happen, but it's not super common. And I think it's particularly important at this time in our lives. And that is that transiting Saturn, who's still in the vibration of Pisces, is going to come into a sextile with Uranus, who's retrograde still at this point, and in the vibration of Taurus. Now, first of all, both Saturn and Uranus have already done all of the degrees of the particular signs that they're in. So now as they've come back, this is more of a review and a tightening up. But this time, the planet that wants to create structure and the one that wants to dissolve and disrupt structure are actually in cooperation with each other. For you, this is bringing in a conversation between your 6th and your 8th houses. And as these two houses connect, first of all, your 6th house being about health, wellness, your daily routines. Are you in service of your life or are you in slavery to your life, right? And the 8th house of intimacy and assets, shared resources, vulnerability, sex, emotional depth. These two come into conversation, and Saturn is helping you build something sustainable in this area, which have to do with getting down to the spiritual causes and conditions around the habits that you have in your life. Why do you do that? If you can't not do that, what do you appeal to spiritually in some way to help you? Where do you find your peace and your comfort enough to change without falling apart, right? And then Uranus shaking up these old fears and these old emotional patterns that you've seen that don't have that much value anymore. One in particular, being in this Taurus vibration, is I have to hustle. Taurus has misused that Venusian vibration, and maybe you have as well, Libra, to hustle hard. Instead of remembering, I need to be clear on what my values are, and then I call it to me. I point my hips at it and I tell it to come to me, right? So together, as these two are working in a sextile vibration, they offer you a really beautiful window for some breakthroughs. And it can manifest by looking like things like you're changing a habit immediately, and it improves your emotional well-being, right? You go, I don't value that anymore, right? You see it now because Uranus has already been here. There is a coping mechanism. There's certainly maybe a societal coping mechanism, and you see it, and you've been afraid of it, and now you're ready to let it go. And your health also begins to improve, right? When we're disconnected from intuition, or if we're using Venus as a hustle hard, burnout's going to come. But then when we can back off of that, the body usually rebounds as well. There's deepening of intimacy happening for you, particularly in practical ways where you can start to trust and open that door a little bit more for yourself. You know, there's a lot of maturity in here that shows you that the maturity actually leads to the liberation. Let me know how all of that is resonating for you in the comment section down below as well. I'm just talking your ear off in the comment section down below this month. Now, as we are going to close out this month, Libra, on the 26th, we see Neptune coming back into the vibration of Aries, which of course will light up your 7th house space right across the street. Now, we saw Neptune come into Aries already in 2025, but we just got a taste of it and a taste of where we were going. But now this is a major long-term shift that we are going to work on in your 7th house of conscious, chosen one-on-one relationships, right? It's a new era truly for spiritualizing, having compassion, having a deeper sense of purpose and an intuitive soulfulness in your relationships. And these, Libra, are the ones that you choose. They're not relationships that just sauntered in here and you had no idea what was going on. You're choosing these. So it's really this place where I think at a deeper level, the vulnerability and your ability to be in vulnerability in your relationships is going to get a bit of help here. And first, it can feel like you're losing yourself. Neptune is also a societal planet. So it's like, that's delusional. I've always been told that was delusional. I mean, I keep telling you about Venus and I'm like, stop hustling hard, you're Venus, right? And that can feel like, well, I've always been taught something else. So as Neptune is softening these ideas around relationships, relationship dynamics, people pleasing, the way that you've negotiated yourself out of fear of disappointing other people or them disappointing you. So we're using defenses. This is a place where Neptune kind of dissolves the ego patterns around this area to make space for you to invite a more soulful being into your conscious chosen relationships, to call in soulmate level connections, the ones that help you shift your spirit on this particular journey, you know, and remembering too here, I think, Libra, as Neptune travels through this area of your chart for over a decade, the relationships that you have in your life are just mirroring who you are and what you are right now, right? Water meets its own level. So this is a great time to look at where you're at in understanding relationships, but also in your spiritual growth around relationships as well. All right, Libra, there's plenty going on in January. There's opening, there's stabilizing, there's clarifying, and it is all a cosmic conspiracy to help you live your best life, to live the lessons that you came here to live, okay? Let me know how the month goes in the comment section down below. I love you a ton, and I look forward absolutely to seeing you in February. Bye, Libra. Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful Scorpio friends, and welcome to your horoscope for January of 2026, where Scorpio this month, January offers a recalibration point for you. That's emotionally, that's mentally, that's relationally. Much of the work, I think, in January happens in your foundations and things around your mindset. Looking at some of these inner emotional rhythms that have been going on and where you have been able to reset, and you're having a final kind of recalibration and integration. And this opens doors for you, doors around support. And it's not dramatic. I really just don't know that it's that dramatic. I think it's more clarifying. So it's kind of a month where, as I was looking at it for you, I think that it's more like you go, I see it now. I get it. I get it, right? So let's jump in and let's talk about what's going on this month. But Scorpio, please make sure that you have your very own individual natal chart, because I'm going to give you a gorgeous general reading like everyone on the internet is, but you really want the best astrology, and the best astrology is your astrology, and you've got to have your own chart to see where these transits are happening for you. Okay. Right as we're coming into the month on the 1st, we have got Mercury moving into the vibration of Capricorn. Now, this energy sits really comfortable with you. You're typically comfortable working with other water energies and earth energies. There's a nice compatibility there. But for you, Scorpio, this is going to light up your 3rd house space. So you're already sharp. You're already sharp as a sign and as an energy. And as Mercury, our communication planet, comes into Capricorn, it gets sharper. But it helps you get sharp enough to articulate what's been happening internally in your internal processing. Now you're like giving it language. It's actually very practical. Capricorn is an earth sign, so it can be practical, can be kind of neutral, but the conversations become clearer. The word magic starts to show up for you. Your mind is getting more organized. There could just be a lot more organization in general going on as we're experiencing these transits for the next few weeks. But at a deeper layer, what I think that this Mercury transit is representative of for you, or that you can work with, is that there may be a truth that you've kind of been holding back on, or you've been assuming other people should know this thing or know this about you, right? An assumption kind of energy. And you've needed to express something. So it's almost like you need to say it. You need to talk about it. Mercury is going to help under this transit speak and communicate in all forms of clarity, whether this is with your siblings, it's around contracts, it's around something that you want to learn or you want to teach. Lean into the practicality of the words and the conversations right now. On the 3rd, we're going to see that we've got a full moon happening in fellow water energy, Cancer, at 13 degrees. Now, this is going to light up your 9th house space. Publishing, marketing, broadcasting, international travel, teaching, higher education, philosophy. As the full moon is happening here, it's asking us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment, because we need to leave some things that we don't need, we're not learning them anymore, and pivot on the same road we've been on for some time, but now we need to pivot and start committing to a new direction. So this is going to illuminate under all the light in the sky beliefs that you have had for quite some times, beliefs that guide and inform decisions and the way that you make them, right? Some of them are very empowering, and I think you're going to get to see that and review that this month, and some of them are so outdated. You may notice this month, Scorpio, particularly at the emotional level, which happens under this Cancerian and lunation energy, that you've had some emotional attachments to old stories, and they really don't match anymore. They don't match anymore, right? Like, you've outgrown it. This last season of growth for you is showing you the distance between who you are now and that story that you were carrying. And it doesn't force it upon you. The moon is not here to force it. It simply highlights what's already ready to be under evaluation. And it's a pretty neutral, but I think important truth for you to realize under this particular full moon, that some of the belief systems that may be being shown to you at this time were built during periods of your life where there was a more emotional instability, where emotions felt more like survival instead of thrival. So the moon is just asking you to reflect on this path that you've already been on, if those things are still true and if they still bring you security. Now, as we get to the 17th, the fourth house gets lit up for you: home, family, real estate property, where you live, things around housing, your relationship with security in your own home and in your own spaces are going to come to the surface. On the 17th, we see Venus move into the vibration of Aquarius. When we get to the 19th, we're going to see that the sun comes into the vibration of Aquarius. On the 20th, we'll welcome Mercury into the vibration of Aquarius. And on the 23rd, we'll have Mars come into Aquarius. So listen, the gang's all here. Okay, the gang is all here. So that fourth house will be lit up. We can expect a lot of action, changes of directions. But one thing I want to focus on, Scorpio, is Venus moving into Aquarius on the 17th. Because what we want to remember here is that Venus is not a hustle hard planet. It's not, let me just go out and conquer. It's not that. Venus is an attracting in. I'm clear on my values, so I'm attracting in what I want. I point my hips at it and I tell it to come to me energy. But it's also a relationship with how we receive, right? It's a softer relationship with how we receive, how we rest. So as this transit is going on for you in your fourth house, one of the first questions I'm going to ask you is, how does your home feel in terms of feeling safe enough for you to receive and rest in it, right? This energy coming in more softly to allow you space to subtly begin to question these things, or be with it, or be in the vibe of your own house. It's really going to give you a softer, smoother place to evaluate what is emotional safety. Where did those patterns come from that you feel like you can't rest in your own home, in your own space? And maybe an opportunity to settle and to reconnect with the feminine vibration, right? To reconnect with something that is more grounded. It's not dramatic, but it's definitely softer. So I want to invite you to think about that this month and all throughout the rest of the year. You know, if you're not in the Venus Reset program already, I would love to see you in there, because Venus does not hustle. She attracts. She's not out here. It's not a come prove to me kind of energy. It's about the alignment with the space and the energy, and then the ability to receive it because you're clear on your values in your home. That said, some of you may also find that you've got a lot more love, you've got a lot more romance or finances coming into your home space as well. Now, I want to go back to the 18th because we can't miss out on the fact that we've got a new moon happening in Capricorn. But this particular lunation, while it lights up your third house space, it's at 28 degrees, and that is a degree of mastery. So while you're planting your seeds of intention, it's not willy-nilly. You know this vibration, you know this new moon, you're planting your seeds of intention to begin a new cycle of something you want to build and grow, but it is grounded, it is stable. It's about how you understand that your words and your mindset mean things in your life. You're starting to learn something new, you're starting to teach something new, you're starting to have new habits, new conversations, connected to different social groups, maybe connected even to a different network or your neighbors or neighborhood, things like that, right? One of the things that I think it also gives you a way to break out of is the old patterns of self-talk and the stories that you have used to, they're harsh. They've been too harsh. They don't have you in your full power, right? So this can be a beautiful time where the mind becomes a more supportive place as you're growing and you're planting your seeds of intention to make that a reality. Now, on the 20th, besides having Mercury also move into the vibration of Aquarius, we're going to see that transiting Saturn, who's still in the vibration of Pisces, is going to sextile to Uranus, who's still retrograde and back in the vibration of Taurus. Now, these two planets have already done all of the degrees of both of these signs. So as they're back here, they're coming back with a lot of wisdom. They've already been there, got the t-shirt, all of it. So now they're working collaboratively between your 5th house and your 7th house energies. And it is a supportive transit to connect your relational side, your romantic side, and your creative side together, right? And for some of you, this might just be so straight up and down. It's connecting you with an ex, but you guys share children or something like that, that particular dynamic, right? Because the way that you create, the way you allow ease, joy, pleasure, play, conversations around children and how that interacts in partnership and how that shows up for you will be a little bit more pronounced under this. But the point is here is that Saturn's side is helping you learn to ground your expressions and ground your creativity. And Uranus has been encouraging you through this Taurus vibration to allow healthy change to your relationships, to break apart from relationships that don't have the strength to move forward with you. So as a result, I think that at this particular transit, the helpful relational breakthroughs that are available for you that you choose and you're taking action on, bring clarity to all of this change that you've had, particularly in how you relate. You understand what you actually want in love. You're shifting an old relational pattern and you're able to be more emotionally vulnerable. You recognize where you have chosen intensity over compatibility, whether that be in work, romance, business, legal things, right? Whatever it is. So there can begin to be this slow opening to partners who bring you the value of steady, of luxury, of receptivity without all the chaos. It's going to be a massive transit. It's very quiet, but I think it brings a massive change. Okay, Scorpio, as we are going to close out the month on the 26th, we see Neptune now sliding back into the vibration of Aries. We saw some of this energy. We got a peak of it in 2025. But now this is going to be a long-term transit and is going to gently dissolve things in your 6th house, your daily routines. This is your work, your schedule. This is whether or not you are in service. You have a daily schedule that is in service to your life and your energy, or are you a slave to it? Are you in service or servitude, right? How are you taking care of your physical health and wellness? I also like to put freelancers in here because if you have individual contracts or something like that, or you're self-employed and you have employees, this can fall in the 6th house area as well, okay? However, this particular transit, what it's going to be working on is helping you to dissolve old habits that are just trying to live against the intuition, right? This invites more intuitive, compassionate approaches to your health, to how you are in service of your daily routine, but it takes spiritual courage to be able to do it, right? We can hear the body say, I'm a bit tired, I don't want this anymore. You can even feel the intuition percolate percolate up to the top. But if we don't have the spiritual courage to actually put ourselves in action, it becomes not just subtly overwhelming, but overwhelming. So here, Neptune actually helps to kind of soften these edges, soften the edges of the schedule. Is it intuitive? Soften the edges of your self-expectation, right? Are you expecting way too much for yourself? At a deeper level, where I think this transit is going to be able to do a lot of shift and a lot of work for you is that you may honestly just not be able to tolerate routines that are just built on stress. They're just built on emotional suppression. They're putting out your fire, your Aries, right? I don't know that you'll be able to tolerate for too much longer work that really doesn't align with what has some kind of meaning to you. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody gets to quit their job and do what they love, but it may even mean that you're moving into a job you've had for a very long time. And in this not sudden, but very gradual realignment, you're coming online with, why do I actually do this work? when I am doing this work, who does this actually help? And that's starting to become a bit more important to you. So Scorpio, it's a pretty deep month. There's lots of inner restructuring that's going on, but there's some aha moments that I think are absolutely brilliant. Again, if you're not in the Venus Reset program yet, I would love to see you in there so that you can really be in this position of choosing your relationships with clarity because you understand your value, not just intensity. Right? There's a whole beautiful world waiting for you. I hope you have a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous January. Please let me know how it goes in the comment section down below. I love you, and I will see you in February. Bye, Scorpio. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Sagittarius friends, and welcome to your horoscope for January of 2026. We're Sagittarius. First of all, before we jump into this month, please make sure that you have your very own natal chart so that you can see where these transits are actually happening in your chart. I and everybody else on the internet are going to give you a beautiful general breakdown, but the best astrology is your astrology, and I want you to have the best. So please have your chart. You can get it in my description box down below, or go pull a free one from one of our brilliant online sources. Okay, Sagittarius. January is about awakening a different kind of rhythm for you, particularly around your money, around your communication, and also I think around the way that you are navigating in your relationship with some health dynamics. So the month is going to begin in a Capricorn style, practical, a lot of clarity, moving through some emotional truths with a more practical, solid kind of energy. And then it's going to shift and it transforms into something more creative and where you're needing to think more outside of the box. So let's jump in and talk about all of this. On the first, we've got Mercury moving into the vibration of Capricorn, and this lights up just your second house space. So this is about your money. This is about what you do with your money, how you use your creative talents to allow money and resources to flow towards you. This is about your spending habits. This is about your self-worth. Okay, there's a lot that goes into this second house energy. But as Mercury comes into this second house, into Capricorn, your focus and your attention towards these areas, those finances, gets really tuned in. Because the transit is about clarifying what you need materially and emotionally to feel safe and to feel stable and to feel like you have some long-term investment in this particular area of your life. So it's an excellent transit for you over this next few weeks to create that budget, refine the budget, refine any kind of streams or systems of revenue that you have, allowing resources to flow through you. Either way, the decisions that you're making are going to be much more grounded in your financial foundation than they were, when we were traveling through your season, which was beautiful, but it's more about being able to change and bend with the winds when we're in Sagittarius season. Now it's about creating a solid ground. Now, at a deeper level, I think particularly if you're in the space of over 35, this transit, while quick, is also giving you an opportunity to really evaluate what you believe about your worth in a very practical Capricorn Earth kind of way. And it's not based on really high highs and really low lows. It's about the level of confidence that you carry through yourself as you're moving in this area of your chart, right? You can be so beautiful in your generosity. I love Sagittarian energy. You're so generous. And Mercury here in Capricorn helps that optimism actually get a strategy so that you feel both good inside and get to carry that generous spirit, but then it also is showing up in a more strategic, balanced way outside as well. When we get to the third, we're going to have a full moon happening at 13 degrees of Cancer, and this lights up your 8th house space. Now, the 8th house is where I like to call intimacy and assets, but there's a lot that goes on in here. Shared resources, shared finances, death, debt, taxes, insurance, emotional entanglements, vulnerability, trauma, deep psychological patterns, astrology, that all lives in the 8th house, because as these things get deeply into us, if one side changes, then the other side will change as well. The full moon is asking us, Sagittarius, to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to pivot in some way. We've worked on some things for quite some time, and now we need to pivot in a different direction. So you may become more aware, Sagittarius, during this full moon with all of that light in the sky of something that you have been attached to, some kind of attachment that you have, or a fear that's coming up for you in this area. Maybe you fear being dependent on another resource, or maybe a resource is going to be ending in your life in the next 6 months and you're a little bit worried about that. It can be fear of being vulnerable in your relationships, fear of trusting astrology, fear of doing astrology. These things can all rise to the surface, and it's not really dramatic. It's emotional, but I don't think it's dramatic, and I think it's incredibly clarifying for you as well. Because the moon is just trying to reveal to you here where that emotional intimacy, or the intimacy around some kind of merging, whether that be financial, relational, therapeutic, feels overwhelming to you, and where deeper connection is what's needed, because it can actually support you. So let me know how this resonates for you in the comment section down below. Now on the 17th, your third house is going to start getting busy, okay? On the 17th, we have Venus come into the vibration of Aquarius, into that third house. On the 19th, we'll welcome the sun. On the 20th, we'll welcome Mercury now into to this area of your chart as well. And when we get to the 23rd, we're going to welcome Mars into the third house. So the gang is all here in this third house vibration. But the one thing I want to bring your attention to first is that the third house is about communications, things having to do with siblings, contracts, short distance trips, something that you're learning, a program you're going to teach, your website, writing that book. It's all of these communication pieces. Now, as Venus comes into this third house area on the 17th, Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is an attracting energy, right? We get clear and settled and sorted on our values, and then you point your hips at it and tell it to come to you, right? Venus is an attracting in energy. So as Venus is traveling through Aquarius, the question here is, where can communication become easeful? Can it be beautiful instead of full of effort and full of stress, right? If you've been trying to learn something, where can you allow yourself to ease up, like take your claw marks out of it and let the information come in a bit more ease? Where can you allow an opportunity to come to you through some kind of network, third house, that you're connected to? You can let it come to you, right? Because Venus here is going to bring a bit of salve. It's about making communication easier, lighter, more enjoyable, but it is making it easier to attract what you need in this area. Venus will support your learning, your writing, your speaking, your sharing, your gathering these new opportunities, but you've got to also evaluate your relationship with receiving. Once you call it, can you receive it? Can you hold it? Can you allow this opportunity a space to live and sit with you as you continue to experience it here? On the 18th, we've got a new moon that's going to be happening in Capricorn, and this lights up your second house space. Now, this lunation, I really feel so much power around, because this is happening at 28 degrees of Capricorn. This is not a baby new moon. This is grown folks energy. Okay. At 28 degrees, this is mastery. You have a level of mastery over the new chapter you're asking to begin here. And it's a new chapter in your financial life. It's a new chapter in your sense of value and self-worth, and allowing resources to flow through you. Maybe even you're going to plant seeds of intention to create new revenue streams that can flow towards you, right? Or you're learning something about how to actually structure a business. Even in the new world, the business structure doesn't change. How do you learn about that and allow it to flow to you? Either way, it's a mature, responsible energy, and the kind that supports long-term goals that you have for your money, for your value in this area. And it is, to me, also a signal at the beginning of a chapter for you, Sagittarius. I'm looking at my daughter's picture right here. She's a Sagittarius as well. But it represents to me like this signal at a deeper level that your self-worth is so much less about performing and society, and it's really based more on What is the internal story coming out now? But you're conscious of it. This is not just the unconscious tape running in the back. It's a soft, powerful recalibration of you to your inner values and then getting to express them in a material way. Okay, now on the 20th, besides having Mercury also moved into Aquarius, we've got a brilliant sextile that I think is going to do some real good for you, Sagittarius. So we've got transiting Saturn, who's over in fellow mutable sign Pisces, and Uranus, who's over retrograde in Taurus. Okay, so this is a conversation between your 4th and your 6th house energies. But both Saturn and Uranus have been through all degrees of the signs that they're in. Now they're back into these spaces. So you're again here working with wisdom. It's a signal that this ain't nothing new. It's true. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. That kind of energy, right? But as these two come together this time and they are in a supportive collaboration with each other, Saturn's maturity plus the Uranian innovation puts this as a space that you can be having a bit of a breakthrough in this area, right? It shifts your home life, it shifts your living environment in some way. There's an emotional pattern that maybe has been going on, something in a daily routine. It's shifted. So what could this look like? I would be looking for signs and symptoms that you're like able to reorganize your house in a way that really feels good to you. It feels like my wellness is supported by this, right? There's a family pattern that's maybe been going on and you didn't even know it was running in the back and it's been affecting you and you're able to see it now. You are bringing in a healthier schedule. It can look like any of these changes beginning to come up because the transit itself, I think, is about bringing you exactly that, the awareness of your own maturity. All right, Sagittarius says, we are going to close out this month on the 26th. We're going to see that Neptune now moves back into the vibration of Aries. We got a preview and a snick snack of this in 2025, but now it's time for the more major long-term shift and work. And this is in your 5th house: joy, pleasure, play, children, expression, romance, the ability to participate in romance, right? But Neptune here is softening your heart. It's softening your heart, and you have the spiritual courage to go with that. And that softening awakens your creativity, right? It's literally like you are stepping in it, and it might even be like you feel this urge to create, this urge to be in your romantic life, an urge to romance your own life, right? Because Neptune coming here to work this 5th house energy begins a whole new era for you around your ideas and ideals of joy. It becomes spiritualized, right? It will become a place where the meaning of spirituality and creativity is not about productivity. It's about your healing. It's not just entertainment, right? So I would be looking for, where are you feeling? Even in 2025, as you first experienced this, where were you starting to feel really inspired, or art or pleasure or play were creeping more into your life? You wanted to have more music on. You felt more compassionate, even compassionate to yourself, right? Where did these things start to pop up for you? Because we'll be on the journey of this, Sagittarius, as we are coming back into January. And it's not escapism. It's spiritual courage that is more in a lens of refinement. So you've got the Sagittarius, and January is going to bring you plenty of things to work on, but it's all about a cosmic conspiracy to help you stabilize your foundations, get some clarity around how you communicate, deepen your vulnerability, and ultimately for you to be learning the lessons that this life has for you to learn. All right, my beautiful Sagittarian friends, I love you a ton. Let me know how the month goes in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in February. Hello, my beautiful Capricorn friends, and welcome to your horoscope for January of 2026, which, first of all, happy birthday, Capricorn. We're still in Capricorn season as we are coming into January. So for those of you that are on this side, happy birthday. Next measure of business, Capricorn, if you do not already have your very own natal chart, please make sure you click in my description box down below and get it. You're going to use it to follow along with us with everything we're talking about astrologically, and you really want to get it, because I'm going to give you a beautiful general reading, just like everybody on the internet is, right? But the best astrology, Capricorn, is your astrology. So make sure you have your chart, okay? All right, Capricorns, January is, of course, a defining month for you, because even if you're one of our Capricorn friends that's more on the December side, it's still birthday time, right? It is still your solar season. So there's a lot of definition for who you are, how you want to travel through the world in this next year that is on the table. So it really becomes the time of year that is about personal renewal for you. That's emotional, financial, relational shifts. They all kind of come into view because you're the one who's shifting, and it's more of a long-term transformation. You are Saturnian ruled, so you're not going to just make a little tiny change and let that thing be just super temporary. You're looking for more of the bigger overarching changes that have some endurance for you. So if January still feels like a time of reinvention for you, I think that you are spot on. Let's jump in and see how this looks date by date for you. At the beginning of the month on the 1st, we've got Mercury moving into Capricorn, so into your vibration. Now we've got the sun that's already traveling here, a lot of beautiful energy happening there. But as we bring Mercury into Capricorn, this is where your first house of you, your identity, your body, your external environments, the way that you regard yourself, it's sharpened. Your mind and your communication are absolutely sharpened here. So you're really bringing into focus how you articulate in every way who you are. And I love to talk about Ursula from The Little Mermaid, where she says, never underestimate the power of body language. So down to the way that your body and the way you position yourself, what it's calling in for you, what you're telling people is acceptable in terms of behavior in dealing with you. This is all a time where you're more focused, you're more self-aware, you're making commitments, decisions to make commitments to be your best self, or what's the best for you. And I think you're also more willing at this point to say things that maybe you've avoided saying because they weren't polite or they weren't socially acceptable. Now, underneath the roots of this, what I think that this deeper layer is about you putting words and language, Capricorn, to something that has felt off. And maybe if it's even felt off for like a long time, and now you're expressing that a bit more clearly. Maybe it was a need that you had, or a style even that you wanted to wear, and now you're feeling like you can express that without guilt. You're setting those boundaries without guilt. Whatever it is, it's not the dramatics of it. It's just you moving a little bit more truthfully and having the understanding that your words are going to land different because of the truth that they carry. Now, on the 3rd, we're going to see that we've got a full moon happening at 13 degrees of Cancer. And this is going to light up your 7th house space, so conscious chosen one-on-one relationships. Okay, and these are the kind of relationships you know who you're in relationship with. It's not really a surprise. It could be business, it could be romance, it could be something legal, a significant mentor in your life, something like that. And the full moon is going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. You've been working on this for some time, and now we need to pivot away from what you've already learned and continue to commit to the path that's going to take you forward on what you're still learning and practicing. So again, this gives you a space to, I think, understand the Cancerian vibration. Like bringing in awareness for you, Capricorn, where it's okay to receive help because emotionally you need it. How are you managing emotional labor in your life? Are you being open to have the help there? Are you able to acknowledge emotionally how much help you truly need from other people or you could benefit from? Now, I don't think that this is like this profound truth necessarily, depending on your personal chart, but Capricorn, you're earthy. You're completely able to shoulder the weight of relationshiping, and sometimes to over relationship in it. So this is a great time for you to look at, how do you not take responsibility for the things that are not yours, right? How do you not try and hold the emotional weight for 2 to 5 people when you really are just looking at, it's okay for me to be guilt-free and hold the weight of my own. And really, if you have some things coming up that are about loyalty, if this word means something to you at this particular lunation, this would be a time where you're asking, is this partnership or is this sense of loyalty I have, the other side, is it reciprocal, right? And again, it's not dramatic, it's just honest to answer these questions. And the other side leaves you with your next steps. As we get to the 17th, we are going to see that your Aquarius house, your second house of money, creative ways you use your talents to allow resources to flow to you, is going to get busy. On the 17th, we see Venus move into the vibration of Aquarius. On the 19th, the sun leaves your territory and moves into Aquarius. On the 20th, Mercury moves into Aquarius. And on the 23rd, we see Mars move into Aquarius. So when I say that the gang is all here and we're going to bring your focus to this new financial clarity, that's exactly what the hell I mean. That is what I mean. So the thing I want to highlight here is that as the second house gets busy, we're looking at self-worth. We're looking at your finances, how you make money, how you allow resources to flow to you, how you receive in that dynamic, particularly with Venus here moving in on the 17th, because Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is a magnetism and an attracting planet, and we attract what we value, right? So we have to get in alignment with our values here. So the self-worth recalibration is definitely on at this time. And as Venus moves here, Venus is typically pretty comfortable in the second house as a second house energy in general. And it's about attracting in with a little bit more ease, some financial abundance to you, making things around finances a bit sweeter, feeling a little bit more confident financially, attracting resources to you with a little bit more effort. But my question to you is going to be, and I've been asking you to be in the Venus Reset program so that you can really have a different relationship with this, but it's, can you receive it? When the opportunity for a financial boost comes to you or is presented to you, can you sit with that? Can you receive it? Can you allow that to happen and come to you? Or do you feel like you still have to go out and hustle to get it, right? When a partnership comes to you, can you receive it and sit with it and allow it to grow in its luxury and its abundance? And so this is the other thing, is that Capricorn, it's in your Saturnian vibration to need to learn the lesson that worthiness and productivity do not necessarily go hand in hand, right? This can be a Saturnian kind of internalized belief that if I work harder than everybody else, then I'll be safe and I'll be worthy. And Venus is actually asking, as it moves into this position, can you allow income, partnership, all of these things to arrive through alignment instead of stress and strain? Or where have you undervalued your skills? You're currently looking at your pricing. You're currently looking at yourself. Where have you been the one to undervalue your own skills? Where you're like, yeah, I've not made sense with the fact that I'm actually good at this, or that I am enough. Some of these stories can kind of come up here as well. Now, when we get to the 18th, we've got a new moon that's happening in your sign. So in the vibration of Capricorn, this will light up your first house space. But Capricorn, this particular lunation is at 28 degrees. And I think that's important to pay attention to, because what it's telling us is that this lunation, while you're planting your seeds of intention for something that you're going to work on for 27 months to really get it to its full story, you're doing it at 28 degrees, which is a degree of mastery. It's mastery, it's wisdom, it's maturity, it's the completion of an old self-concept that you're not living out of anymore because you don't need it. So it is a powerful birthday, personal reset kind of energy. And this new cycle, as you're beginning it, is about how do you lead yourself? How do you show up in the world? How do you express your truth? How do you allow yourself to be seen by others? Particularly, we don't need a flashy reinvention. You don't need to cut all your hair off unless that's the season that you're in. It doesn't need to be big and grand, but it's quiet and it's more aligned. I have a relationship with receptivity, right? These kinds of things. And that shifts the entire game of chess for you. But it's also about making no apologies for who you are, where you are, how it is, and also who you're not, right? All right. We already talked about how the 19th brings the sun into Aquarius and the 20th brings Mercury into Aquarius as well. But I don't want to forget that on the 20th, we've got a really powerful, I think, although it's quiet, aspect for us where we've got transiting Saturn still traveling through the vibration of Pisces, coming into a sextile with Uranus, who is still retrograde in fellow Earth sign Taurus. So this creates a conversation for you between your third house and your fifth house. And both Saturn and Uranus have already been through all of the degrees of these respective signs. So this again is more of a signal that it's working with the wisdom that's already been here. It's just looking for your application at this particular time. And because this is a sextile, it is a supportive blend. It's blending that Saturnian structure with the innovation of Uranus, right? And so this affects your voice. This affects your creativity. This affects your expression about joy, pleasure, play. This affects the way that your children or things, concepts around children are being impacted as well. So as you're looking for how this aspect maybe starts to show up in your day-to-day space, we need to look for the manifestations of feeling an urgent call towards more creative projects, or maybe very Taurian, a creative project or something you were working on. It maybe felt a bit like this, and now it's starting to stabilize. That would be a wonderful expression of this aspect. Your writing, your communication becomes more joyful, becomes more clear. You're having a breakthrough in your confidence, right? All of these things are kind of starting to rise up to the surface. Well, you know, the Saturn here as well, perhaps you're just speaking your truth, and that is really bringing a lot of healing into the spaces where you are. Either way, it's a transit that as we're experiencing it, there's a lot of freedom that's coming from your own expression. As we're going to close out the month, we're going to see that Neptune is going to come back into the vibration of Aries on the 26th. Now, we've seen this. We got a little taste of it in the summer, really, of 2025. Now, what was beginning in the summer of 2025 and those months, really summer through the rest of the year, will be able to really carry a bigger vibration of moving it forward in the summer of 2026, okay? But as we see Neptune come back here, it's going to be in your fourth house, home, family, real estate, property, your emotional foundations, your own inner healing, what you perceive to be security, all of these things. And it's a big transit. It's a massive transit. We haven't had Neptune in Aries since like the 1800s. So you are a part of a new generation who is setting the stage and setting the stage for the next decade of your life to have the spiritual courage, that's Neptune in Aries, that's needed to move this area of your chart forward. You're looking at your inner world, your sense of safety, your connection to your family, your connection to the family stories of your country, right? Like your own history, your emotional patterns. Now, it's a little bit more of a, at this point in January, I think it's more of a neutral but important truth that this Neptune energy is going to bring us back as we come online. And it is that trying to build stability externally before addressing what the internal needs are often doesn't work. Like that house crumbles. So Neptune here in Aries, I think, is asking for the spiritual courage to reverse that model. What do you need now? What are you finding out are true for your insides, those internal foundations, and then allow those emotional internal foundations to take the structures externally, if that makes sense. It's a transit that softens you. I can say that it softens you, and that softness is not a wound. It is not weakness. It is your humanity, and it is the thing, Capricorn, that I think really helps you build a solid place to stand on as we're traveling through 2026. All right, my beautiful Capricorns, there's plenty going on this month. I hope that you have a beautiful birthday. I hope that what you are resetting your ideals and your identities into, where you're finding home to be for yourself, you'll share with us in the comment section down below. I love you, Capricorn, and I will see you in February. Bye. Hello, my beautiful Aquarian friends, and welcome to your January 2026 horoscope. And Aquarius, happy birthday. Happy birthday to our Aquarius friends that are on this side of the birthday cutoff. I hope that you have a gorgeous month. Please let us know in the comment section down below how this bridge is, because this is actually a cool bridge month here in January, between the space between who you've been, who did you travel as in 2025, who are you now as you're listening to this forecast, and what's the view of who you're going to be becoming. You're taking this version of you on the road. I'm absolutely curious to hear your reflection and to share the witnessing of your life and your journey at this point. There's moves that are just activations, I think, that happen this month because so many of the planets come and they get into your sign and it's like bang, 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 bang. You're on, right? But all at the same time, as we're starting this month, we're still starting with a lot of the energy in that 12th house in the Capricorn space. So you're not starting off January like Olay, okay? You're actually being asked to slow down, look inward, stay in the rest, stay in the receiving before you step forward really intentionally. So Aquarius, let's jump in and take a look what this month has got to offer. Right here on the first, we've got Mercury moving into the vibration of Capricorn. And again, this is lighting up that 12th house space for you of where things are quiet. They're going on behind the scene. There's a subconscious space back there. There's a place where we go to rest and have respite and to transition things out, let them culminate, right? But as Mercury moves here in the 12th house, first of all, it really does turn your mind a bit more inward. You might be more reflective of the past. Things are coming up in dreams or in symbols. Your intuition is really speaking to you. It's a lot more introspective and symbolic in this particular area, certainly reflective. But it is also a time where Mercury moves here and your mind gets sharp. So if you are revisiting those old memories, if you are looking at subconscious fears and things going on behind the scenes, you're having a deeper insight about them. And it's quite practical. It's quite Capricornian, right? It is, I think the deeper layer of it is that it's Capricornian because it's processing now instead of spiraling, right? You're not going back to the past and you're just having a spiral. You're like processing every little thing that you're being shown, because Mercury here in the 12th is going to be more likely to help you be able to see and understand those emotional, physical, the knots, right? And they're knots of time. They're very Saturnian concepts where it's like, wow, that made me grow up. That was a heavy event. That was something that I really took pride in. It's a little bit more forceful. Now, the other thing it can really help you with for my students or people working on things is if you are working on something behind the scenes before you're going to be ready to launch it out, go ahead, get after it, because as long as you're doing it in quiet behind the scenes, Mercury's going to be a helper. Now, on the 3rd, we've got a full moon happening at 13 degrees of Cancer, and this is going to light up your 6th house space. So your daily routines, health and wellness, to include mental health and wellness. How are you speaking to yourself? What's the message that your mind is giving to your body and your energy, right? If you are a self-employed person, or you you own a business or something like that and you have employees or contracts, that falls in here as well. So it's not the job, it's the work that is done, the tiny details that make the work worth it. Or maybe you are in service to someone, you're a caretaker. All of that lives in the 6th house space. Now, the full moon is going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or make an adjustment. You've been working on this for several months, and now you've learned some things, Aquarius. You need to put it over here, and we're going to end that. Say, I don't need to pay attention to that anymore. I've integrated that. And now we're going to pivot and commit to a new direction. And this is a new direction around your daily routines. The question here at an emotional level, since this is a lunation and Cancer, is, are you in service or slavery in your daily routine? What does this look like? Something becomes clear. Your body has maybe been trying to tell you something, or what has your body been trying to tell you? What is your schedule reflecting back to you? Does your schedule support your nervous system, or are you feeling like a fried wreck as you're in your day-to-day routine? How are you doing with having integration into that nervous system or to your emotional processing? Or do you feel like your emotional well-being is being sacrificed for productivity? These are the questions that I think that this lunation helps to open up for us, right? Because it can be an Aquarian tendency to have a physical, like an override. You know what I mean? Like you're having an override to your physical needs with mental momentum. You're like, it's fine. I got it. Let me just think and power my way through this. And the body is kind of having a place where it would like to release that and have a reworking of this daily routine. Now, also, if something comes up for you at this lunation about what's working really well, enjoy it and celebrate that. Now, on the 17th, it's getting hype over at Aquarius Town. First, on the 17th, we've got Venus moving into the vibration of Aquarius. When we get to the 19th, the sun's going to move in. On the 20th, we'll welcome Mercury. And on the 23rd, Mars is going to move into Aquarius. And then the gang is all here. But let's start here at the 17th, because I really want to make sure to make this clear. This is a huge concept on this channel. As Venus moves into your sign, into your first house, your body, your external environment, the way that you present yourself. Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus attracts, it doesn't chase. So first of all, you may honestly just be more magnetic for birthday time, and you are calling things into you. People can see when Venus is in your first house and they're like, I don't know, there's a little something over there. It's very attractive because it's very attracting. So your charm, your appeal, your sense of self can have a little bit more confidence at this time. Now, the one thing I would say is with all that magnetism, all that approachability, be clear on what you value. Be clear on your relationship with receiving the admiration that may be coming to you. Receive the support. Receive the opportunities, or can you? Right? This is going to be a little bit of looking at it. I bang on all the time about the Venus Reset program. And of course, I would love to have you in there. If you still are finding you're having challenges with receiving, because it's not simply about competence, right? It's not just simply about competence, logic, humor, all of these things. There's a softness and a receptivity as Venus is coming here to you. And it's not about being in self-protective mode. So think about it as you're experiencing this Venusian transit for the rest of the month. Where have you over hustled? Or where did you learn that you need to show up a certain way, but it's more of a performance than an actual being able to receive and be in the soft of that? And where has there been any kind of mistaking self-sufficiency for actual self-worth and value? This is in your first house, so we want to have you really soften those edges and receive it and get full-on knowledge about the empowerment of your own value. How do you value yourself? It's also a wonderful transit for relationships. It can bring some soft into it, okay? All right, on the 18th, we've got a new moon happening in Capricorn, so it's the new moon of this 12th house space. Now, the new moon here is several things. One, we're planting our seeds of intention to begin something new. So for the next 27 months, you are going to work on whatever little vegetable you plant in here. So please make sure you plant things you like to eat. Also, though, rest in some glory that this is 28 degrees of Capricorn. So at 28 degrees, that is a degree of wisdom, of mastery, of maturity. So I feel like you are much more confident and competent as to what you are planting here and you're going to make a commitment to. The 12th house rules our endings, our healings, our subconscious patterns, particularly ones that can be our own undoing, those things going on behind the scenes. So now as you've quietly outgrown them, or some of them, maybe you're on the heroine's journey and it was very loud that you were outgrowing things this year. The point is that you're able to purge those, to set this, plant your seeds of intention to say, if I don't need it, let me have a gentle and a mature release Let me dissolve any lingering mental patterns. Let me reconnect lovingly with rest, with receptivity, maybe even rest and receptivity and play and creative, spiritual tending that you haven't been allowed to in a very long time. Whatever it is, on this deeper layer of this new moon, there's so much maturity and wisdom packed behind it that it feels like it can be really good for you, and it feels like it can be a cleansing space right before you're actually in your solar return, which happens the next day on the 19th. Now on the 20th, besides seeing Mercury come into your sign as well, which helps things get busy and buzzy, and there's lots of conversation going on. Thank God you've got all that charm going over there with Venus also in your sign. But we've got Saturn in a sextile to Uranus. So both of your ruling planets are in conversation with each other and in collaboration. This lights up a conversation for you between that Pisces space, which is your second house, and Taurus, which lights up your fourth house space, home, family, real estate, property. As these two are working together, a thing to remember is they've both been through all degrees of both of these signs. Saturn's already seen all the Pisces has to offer. Uranus has seen all the Taurus has to offer. So you're moving back through them. So this, again, is more a symbol of maturity. Saturn in that second house has been making clear some things around your finances and your worth, particularly as it connects with your home or your foundation, and maybe something about you is, it's like it's cut off. Like there's been an innovation, there's a freedom, there's some kind of liberation around finances, around energy, around worth that's not there anymore, but it leaves you a space for freedom. So I would look for those manifestations. Where are you having a shift in your financial habits? Where are you feeling like you're a little bit more renewed in your capabilities and your confidence to do things? Home is maybe stabilizing, or whatever you consider to be safety is beginning to stabilize. Something clears in your family story or a family pattern. All of these things would be beautiful manifestations of what that sextile is bringing into reality for you. Now, as we're going to close out the month on the 26th, we're going to see that Neptune is going to come back now into the vibration of Aries. This lights up your third house space, which is communication, things with siblings, things you're learning, things you're teaching, writing those books, contracts, all of those things that have these tiny details, neighborhoods, all come in this third house space. Now, we did get a taste of this in 2025. So go back and think, okay, what started to happen along these Neptunian lines where the transit itself is trying to spiritualize your communication. We're getting spiritual in our communication without sacrificing a lot of clarity, right? No, I said what I said. But it is a major transit that we need to be mindful of because we haven't really worked with this energy since the 1800s. So Aquarius, you are a part of a next generation who over this next decade, it's going to be a long cycle of transforming the way that you think and you speak and you learn and you process information. And it will require a pretty massive amount of spiritual courage to be able to do it. So where are you having these insights, and where did you feel them in 25 where your intuition was going up? Neptune is said to be the higher vibration of Venus, right? So truly the question of intuition, receptivity, the soft, where are you going to your soft power that is not weak, it is so fully empowered, and how are you working with that? Where do you have a heightened sensibility? Oof, let me try that again. Where do you have a heightened sensitivity to sounds or smells or vibrations that are around you? This could be a manifestation of that. Where do you feel less mentally defensive around things and you're able to be in the vibration of it and kind of move with it more than just feeling like I have to defend? You're coming a little bit more from compassion than just pure logic, right? This transit all here is about spiritually courageous, softer, plus wiser. All right, my beautiful Aquarian friends, happy birthday again. Please let us know how birthday time is going. Let us know how was 2025 versus where you're finding yourself. Where did you find the growth of yourself in that? Let us know that. Let us celebrate you in the comment section down below. I love you, Aquarius, and I will see the other half of your crew in February. Bye, guys. Hello, my absolutely beautiful and brilliant Pisces friends, and welcome to your horoscope for January of 2026. For Pisces this month, it's a bit of a reorientation month, inwardly and outwardly, of course. There's plenty coming up as we get mid-month that really dips us into your relationship with rest, needing to come down, needing to get prepared before it's birthday time. And we'll spend the first half of the month focusing a lot on friendships and things like that. But I want to be very clear that there's a lot of clarifying still that's happening this month about what supports you, what drains you, what aligns with you for the future. And what needs to dissolve so that you can handle and enjoy all of those things. But first, Pisces friends, if you do not already have your own natal chart, please click in my description box down below and get one, or go to one of the free sites and get one, because I'll give you a general reading like everybody on the internet is going to. But the best astrology is your astrology. So I want you to really have an idea of where these transits are happening in your own personal chart, because that's really how you make it good. And if it ain't working out, you have not become an astrologer since last time I saw you, then come and see an astrologer, whether it's me or one of my colleagues, and let us do for you what we do all the time and just really help you, okay? All right, Pisces, let's talk about what this month has to offer. Now, coming in at the beginning of the month on the 1st, we've got Mercury, our communication planet, moving into the vibration of Capricorn. This is going to light up your 11th house space. Now, your 11th house is already busy. So we're talking friends, organizations, social spaces, communities, feeling like you have a tribe, the tribes you're already a part of. But it's also at a deeper level about your long-range goals and designs that you have for yourself, and the communities that you're connected to that help you feel a sense of belonging and get where you want to go. Right? Now, as Mercury comes to this 11th house space, first of all, conversations with friends, collaborators, things in social media, things around community become more vibrant. And you're also going to be acting more Capricornian. You're solidifying, you're having conversations and making decisions that solidify long-term plans, goals, commitments. You're reorganizing something in a very social way in your life. And it's really about feeling more aligned, because I think at a deeper level, a reflection I was having for just your energy is that you can kind of go anywhere. Pisces, you're very good at that. You're good at blending into group spaces, but sometimes what that looks like is you're blending in and you're absorbing energy, you're taking on roles, you're staying very loyal. But I wonder if Mercury here doesn't help you have a little bit more structured lens. So you're like, now hold on. Am I in the right place? Because if I'm going to be over here taking up all this energy anyways, am I empowered and in the right place that supports my future? Do I feel like I'm a part of this tribe? Do I know how to be in community even if I want it? Is this draining my mental, right? My mental or my emotional bandwidth, being in this grouping spaces, being on social media, being any of these things? And honestly, too, where do I want to invest my energy in a group way? So think very Capricornian for these the first 19 days of the month. Where do you need to reorganize in your communities or in your friendships in order to be in alignment with the future vision that you have for yourself? Now, on the 3rd, we're going to see a full moon happening at 13 degrees of Cancer, a fellow water energy. This lights up your 5th house space of joy, pleasure, play, creativity, romance, things having to do with children. So the full moon is going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or we need to make an adjustment. You've learned some things, you've integrated them already, and now we need to pivot and commit to the rest of the path that you're still learning. And one of those things is going to be what emotionally truly brings you joy, pleasure, play. right? Not just romanticized potential. What really brings you pleasure in this particular area? Who brings you pleasure? Who brings you alive? Who makes you feel safe? And the clarity around this, I think, starts to rise. And this can include that you're needing to go back and look at structures or ideas around your actual home or your family. And do these people, places, and things still bring joy, pleasure, and play? Now, at the same time, this can be happening for your children as well, or in spaces that have to do with having children in those spaces. You could be helping someone look at the difference between, what is a structure that is there for them versus what really nurtures them. Okay, so either way, it's a beautiful time here with the full moon to release old stories, old energy, old emotional patterns if they're not serving you anymore, and be prepared to step into more visibility, creativity, pleasure, play, because now you're seeing and choosing what is actually nourishing you. As we get to the 17th, this is where the rest story really begins to come on, because we're going to see that your Aquarian house is going to get loaded, which is your 12th house space. On the 17th, we invite Venus into the vibration of Aquarius. When we get to the 19th, the sun is going to come into Aquarius. The 20th brings Mercury into Aquarius. The 23rd brings Mars into Aquarius. So here comes the rest, restore energy. I want to focus quite a bit on this Venusian energy coming in here, though, because you are a Neptunian, and Neptune is said to be the higher vibration, the higher octave of Venus in general. So we want to make sure that we have a relationship with Venus in the first place. And Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is an attracting energy. I'm clear on what I value, and then I I attract, I restore, and I allow. So my first question for you as we're going into the month and you're experiencing this transit is, how are you doing with that? How are you doing with receiving, being okay receiving spiritual nourishment, in your 12th house space? How are you doing with being with that inner soft and not seeing it as a wound or a weakness, but profoundly healing, profoundly empowering? It's such a relationship with the feminine energy that it's a great time to be looking at it, right? Because what can happen is we become the rescuer, we become the absorber, we become the sacrificer, we become the over-functioner. And instead, this transit with Venus beginning to move in here is asking quite gently, where are you taking on energy, emotional labor, emotions that are not actually yours? Where has compassion crossed into depletion for you? Where have you given up the ability to receive in order to be in survival? So those are things that I think this particular transit of Venus coming here gives you something to think about, and also just enjoy. Venus here is soft, it's suave. So the rewiring your relationship with rest, rejuvenation, surrender, putting on nice music at home and allowing yourself to just be and close out a cycle of your yearly living and not feel like it's collapse, but instead feel like it's beautiful spaciousness. Venus is brilliant here. Last thought on Venus in the 12th. Listen. Let's get practical here as well. Venus in the 12th can bring a lover back from the past, even if it's in an idea or a dream or something like that. It can be the place where we're having affairs, we're doing the stuff that's done in the dark, right? Any of these things can come up, so just be mindful of them. But as a whole, I would say, remember, the 12th house is a spiritual assignment, and rest and receiving are not luxuries. They are important. On the 18th, we've got a new moon happening in Capricorn, very, very copacetic with your energy. And this lights up again that 11th house space. Now, Pisces, this new moon, I think, is cool because it's happening at 28 degrees of Capricorn. That is a degree of wisdom, of maturity, and there's a fair amount of confidence in it as well. So this new moon is where you get to plant your seeds of intention to set the tone for what your friendships, your community spaces, your networking, the organizations you're attached to, your sense of belonging, your future goals. You get to plant those seeds of intention, and over the next 27 months, you'll work on that. So whether that looks like you're going to join a new group, you're going to release an old group, you're going to start a new vision that you have for yourself, right? You're going to allow different kinds of people or new collaborations or friendships to come to you. You're literally calling them in at this lunation. Whatever you're doing, you're starting it with a fair amount of wisdom and stamina and long-term success behind it. Now, as we are going to get to the 20th, something else I want to pay attention to, because yes, we've had Venus and the Sun, and on the 20th, Mercury will also be moving into Aquarius, but we will also see that we've got Saturn, who's back in your sign, and a sextile to Uranus, who is in Earth sign Taurus and retrograde. Now, this is a conversation, and you've already been in this dynamic of conversation, but it's a conversation for you, Pisces, between your first house and your third house, right? But this time, they are working in cooperation with one another. It's a grounded sense of expression. It's a communication upgrade for sure. And your sense of self around your voice seems to be of utmost importance at this particular transit, because Saturn has already worked all of the degrees of the Pisces sign. You have had a maturity come on you. You've worked through it. You've celebrated. You've grown. Whatever. You have done Saturnian things. You can feel the weight of time, even in your being, right? And then Uranus, you've already worked through that as well, because Uranus was bringing innovation, different ways of thinking, different ways of communicating. So as they come together in a cooperation, this can look like, Pisces, you're just speaking more directly and you're confident about it. You're like, no, it's just this. Or you have a need for something and you're able to express that with a lot more clarity. Maybe you were really quiet about something in the past and now you feel more comfortable addressing it and bringing it up. Also, sharing new ideas that you're having, or new ideas that are being presented to you, you feel more comfortable communicating with that, communicating them out. Whatever it is, I think that your voice and your communication becomes a lot more grounded under this transit, and it's very, very useful as we travel the rest of the year. Now, as we get to the 26th, we are going to see that Neptune, one of your ruling planets, gets out of your sign and moves forward back into the vibration of Aries. We did get a taste of this as we were in 2025, and you started to have some spiritual courage around your second house, right? Your finances, how you have revenue streams, or how you allow resources to flow to you, your self-worth. We got a taste of that. But now this transit is, I think, the official real mark of this chapter of your life, where your financial life and your relationship life and your relationship with worth and receiving is going to get louder in the story. And it takes spiritual courage in order to really live it. Now, Neptune will help here because it will kind of dissolve these old narratives that you've had around scarcity, around value, around what you deserve, around if you're allowed to be soft. And what does that mean? What does femininity mean to you? What does it feel like in your body, right? So you might be feeling this call, particularly as we launch forward and these outer planets get all into their masculine signs. You might be feeling the call. First of all, you're like, I need to be doing work that's more meaningful to me. I need to create. I want to be creative, even if I need to find creative streams of income to flow towards me. I need to use my intuition. And maybe you're not using your intuition or your intuitive gifts more for financial things, but it is of value to you. You value your relationship with that more than just pure logic, right? I think for many of you, this next decade is going to be huge for unlearning money wounds that really did show up in childhood and sometimes even past lives. So, these stories that you're rebuilding and you're healing and you're having the fire and the courage to take on spiritually and internally will start to show themselves in your benefits externally as well. Pisces, it's a time to rest before the birthday time comes and the sun pops into your sign and you're ready to step out on the stage for your solar returns. So I hope that you do rest. But, if you want to peek out and tell us how the month is going and share that with us in the comment section down below, I would sure love that and love to be witness to how your January is unfolding. All right, my absolutely beautiful Pisces friends, I love you a ton, and I will see you in February. Bye.